We are live. I think we are live. It's not showing up on YouTube yet. So I'll let you guys tell me. I'm going to wait. Okay. We're starting to show up and we are live. Okay. Welcome everyone to the live Avengers Endgame spoiler discussion. This will be full of spoilers. Welcome to anyone who might be watching. If you haven't seen the film, get out right now and please go watch it. I mean, I think you've watched it. It's made shatter records all around the world, in the US and in every country. And João Magalhães is here. Hello, and Mick Rock Movie Reviews is here. Let's wait let's say 5 minutes. 5 minutes until 8:05 to gather some people around. Hopefully they'll come. And we'll start this discussion. First and foremost, if you guys, Mick Rock and João, are already here, just overall thoughts, not spoilers yet. Just 5 minutes until the people get here, and then we'll talk spoilers. If you guys just want to give your overall general thoughts of it. Think somebody else made it? Okay. Mick Rock says the army is here. We are here. That is very right, sir. I have 2 YouTube notifications. Okay. One of them doesn't matter. And again, welcome and thank you so much for you guys to being here. It's going to be a fun one. I think we'll be here for at least, I'm thinking 2 hours. I'm thinking 2 hours. Because there's a lot to discuss. And I've seen the film 4 times now. I went to my 4th screening yesterday. So I'm noticing things I didn't notice in previous screenings as I go to another. So it's going to be a good one. Okay. All right. Let's see if anyone else gets here. Hopefully more people will. Just put up the notification on Twitter. So people should be here at any moment. And we got João Magalhães saying, I love the film, packed with emotional punches. Just an amazing culmination. 11 years in the making. Satisfying really is the best definition. It is. It is. Satisfying and overwhelming. And also, not staggering, but astonishing is a great word to define just like the past 11 years and what it ultimately built up to. It was this film, and to me at least, it gave me everything I could have ever wanted. I couldn't have dreamed it would be this good. And I'm sorry. All right, and we got 3 minutes to go. Got 3 minutes to go. Mick Rock, pardon my pun, but this movie broke me. It broke me too, several times over. Basically from one moment onwards, I cried constantly. I was a weeping mess until the very end of the film. I'm not saying which part until we get to the 5 minutes and we start discussing the film. So, okay, 2 minutes to go. Sorry, I have a little bit of cough. We got 2 minutes. All right. Two minutes, and we'll talk. I wanted to get something for the background. I guess the poster will do. I had a figure here that I wanted to use, but I'm going to use the one that doesn't have a mask. And I'm back. I think you saw the figure, but eventually I'll bring him up. The time is right. Sandro Nascimento says 3,000. I love you, 3,000 as well. I love every one of you guys. 3,000. I love how that catchphrase began as a little joke, a sweet joke nonetheless, but it built up to something so much bigger. And now we're all using it, and I think we're going to use it for a long time. Okay, 1 minute to go, guys. 1 minute to go, so I'm going to let you know when the 5 minutes are up. And I'll ask you guys if you're ready. So you just type in ready with as much excitement as you can, and we'll get started with your questions. Joe Magalhães says we should all get cheeseburgers for this live. I should have ordered some cheeseburgers. That's right, all the cheeseburgers I could get. And Mick Rock says I'm going to see it again this weekend. I think I'm going to see it again at least one time during the week and then another time on the weekend. And I forgot to get something for myself. Here it is. I'm going to show it. Okay, the 5 minutes are up. So if everyone here is ready, just type in ready and shoot out your first questions and we'll get started, because now is the time, because I am wordy and this little baby came back. Stuart Keating says, how are you? Hey, Stuart. Again, it's a spoiler chat. I don't know if you've seen the film. Okay, you're ready. So I'll assume you've seen the film. And let's wait for the other ones. Okay, Mick Rock is ready as well. And I'm waiting for João and Sandro. Ready? All right, here it is. This little baby came back. I'm picking it up. I'm wordy. This was one of my favorite moments of the film. Not only Mjolnir come back, because let's face it, Mjolnir is better than Stormbreaker. Stormbreaker is just compensating, if you know what I mean. And then Captain America. Yes, Stuart, spoiler questions, fire them away. We're free to talk about in this chat, in this video. That's what we're here to do, just talk spoilers freely. Captain America, picking this up, was the first moment, was the moment where I started crying, and I didn't stop until the end of the film. And Stuart Keating says, the rats save the universe. That's very right. That's very right. But in 5 years, I mean, in an old, abandoned, dirty kind of, what's it called? A storage room. I bought it. I mean, it's not like the rats showed up on the first day. Like, they put the van there and then the rat is like, oh, I'm going to press here. No, it was an okay moment. I personally never went into the film expecting something big to surround the, hey, let's get Ant-Man out of the quantum realm and save him. I always expected something to just happen. So it's not like I love the fact that a rat saved it, but it didn't bother me. Mick Rock says, not really sure how long I'll be here. You stay here as long as you can, and when you have to go, you just go, man, and I appreciate the time you spend here. Sandro Lashiment says, what now, Marvel? I ask, what now anyone else? I mean, everyone else just got out-epicked in that final battle. There's no way you can get bigger than that for Marvel or for anyone else. Stuart Keating, do you know quantum physics? Have you ever studied quantum physics? Only to create mild conversation, something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but that was a really funny line. That was one of the few lines that I'm like, I'm going to use that in real life somehow. Make Rock says there's no way the MCU can top this. I don't think so either, but I didn't think so when they did the first Avengers, which was my previous favorite film. So, so we'll just have to wait to see. I don't think so either. I don't expect this to be topped. It's just very hard. The Russos just sat down in their porch now, and they're just waiting for anyone to try anything. Tony Stark died. It's spoilers. I say what I want, says Chandler Langley. Thank you so much for being here, Chandler. Really appreciate it. Stuart Keating asks, how did you feel about Fat Thor? Some people seem mixed about it. I've seen now 4 times. I've seen the movie 4 times now. On the first viewing, as soon as they go to Thor's house and you see that he has this big beer gut and he's completely out of shape from the last 5 years of being depressed, I was really, really afraid of where they were going. And it worked. The jokes here and there, they worked. And eventually, what I realized more in the second watch than in the first was that as soon as he has a conversation with a mother, the jokes around that kind of stopped, because the Thor being fat was a physical manifestation of his depression in the last 5 years. He lost all the will to fight, to live, to defend, to avenge. literally. Because when he, spoilers again, when he chops Thanos' head off, it's like, it's a moment of victory, but it isn't really. Thor has this face, like, I give up. I mean, I just chopped Thanos' head off, and we didn't fix anything, so I give up. So watching it a second time, I enjoyed it even more, because that made the conflict of his character more compelling. And the fact that he was just fat didn't stop him from, in the end battle, just being all serious and all business and let's kick the shit out of Thanos. He summons Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, or Stormbreaker and Mjolnir, I can remember. And yeah, he's fat and he has a beer gut, but he's still motherfucking Thor, Viking god, who is going to go at Thanos non-stop. And now he's going into the Guardians of the Galaxy, which I actually really, really like. Sandro Nishman says the big fat guy with sunglasses, so cool. It's the big Thorowski, the big Lebowski reference there worked really well. Stuart Keating says 5 years later. I really like how they showed that word by word slowly, because that was just a moment. All right, first 15 minutes and they've killed Thanos. What now? Just the drama ensues after that. Sandro Nishman says, I want a Funko Pop of that guy. I'm expecting the Funko Pops to launch an actual Thor of the movie, because this Thor right here is fake news. That's all I'll say. João Magalhães says, should Nebula die when she kills Nebula from 2014, or is 2015, or is Nebula 2015 a part of one of the branches created by the displacement of the stones, like the Ancient One explains? I was confused. Let me see. Okay, and João continues, I overlooked it, to be honest. I think that scene is really good, and Nebula's arc overall was really good. That just came across my mind as I watched it. I don't think so, because it's the same way that when Steve Rogers goes back at the end, so let's say the young Steve Rogers doesn't disappear, but a new version of Steve Rogers is created. So in this new version of the timeline, basically, what was I going to say? So basically, in this new version of the timeline, when he goes back and he stays with Peggy Carter, there are two simultaneous Steve Rogers in existence. So as Bruce Banner explained, you don't go back to the past and change your past, because your past is now your future. So the 2014 Nebula coming to the future, this is as much her future as it is the true Nebula, let's call her. The true Nebula's present. So it's the way they worked with time travel. It's a different theory of time travel than, let's say, all the movies they mentioned in the film. Or let's pick up a current example and say it's a very different theory of time travel than, for instance, the Flash uses. So let's say in Avengers Endgame, the timeline is linear, but people are not. People can move around the timeline, but the timeline is linear, and then there are fixed points in time, which if you watch Doctor Who, you'll understand there are things that cannot be changed in the timeline. And there are small ramifications that you can create, but they don't manifest as great big changes in the timeline to fuck things up. So that's why when Steve Rogers goes back, there's two Steve Rogers, but nothing else changes. And so that's why Nebula, when she kills her past self, kind of, true Nebula stays alive. At least that's how I read it. Mick Rock says, for some reason in the back of my mind when the movie started... Okay, so you thought Tony was going to die. Many people had that theory. I had that theory. I was like, if either Captain America or Tony die, I think it's going to be Tony. But as soon as the movie started, I was so into the movie, I didn't even think about all the theories I had going in. Sandro Shimen says, a Viking god defeated by Thanos, no way. Well, it happened, so yes way. And he hasn't fought for 5 years. He's not in his best shape. He's not in his best fighting prowess. He gets defeated not easily. He puts up a really great fight, but this is not Thor in his prime, and it only makes sense for him to not be in his prime. Did I miss anything? No. Stuart Keating says, I thought Black Widow and Hawkeye would recognize Red Skull, you know, being in S.H.I.E.L.D. and all that, but probably not. I don't know. It didn't bother me. I don't think they would, because if I'm I think I'm remembering it right, but if I'm remembering it wrong, please correct me. I don't think that Red Skull was a publicly known figure, let's say. I think the only people who knew about Red Skull were the people who actually encountered him, and I don't think Arnim Zola was going to say, oh, there was this guy called the Red Skull, blah, blah, But maybe something just went through my head and I'm totally wrong. Chandler says, when Captain America grabbed Mjolnir, my entire theater went freaking ballistic. I was just in shock that it actually happened and very happy. Me too, and it was actually on the second watch that I realized why he picked it up now. Because I went, the freaking press screening I went ballistic. We got up and we applauded and we cheered. But on second watch, that's when I realized the callback to Age of Ultron, when Captain America is the only one who just actually nudges it. And since then, he has revealed the secret that he has kept for a long time, that Bucky, the Winter Soldier, killed Tony Stark's parents. At the time of Age of Ultron, he was still holding that secret. So that's why he wasn't worthy back then. Since then, he has revealed the secret. The truth has come out. Everyone's put clean dishes on the table. I think that's the metaphor people use. And so now he is worthy. An incredible moment that makes me want to relive the past 11 years again. Finally got... Mick Rock says he finally got that one last dance. It's the perfect ending for the character of Captain America. It's the only way that makes sense for his arc to end. I'll go a bit more into it a little bit later, but it's just perfect. I'm happy for him. He deserves it. It's the perfect way to end his arc. And then there's the selfish side of me who's like, no, give me my Captain America back. I cannot leave without him. Where am I? Finally got that one last dance. Stuart Keating says, that elevator scene, though, so good. So good. I honestly thought they were going to do, like, a recreation of the original fight scene in the elevator again. But they just went in a very good direction. It's one of those moments that is funny to us, but it's not really a comedic moment. It's more of a... It's only funny to if you're like a fly on the wall, and as an audience, we're always that. And I just thought the Hail Hydra caught me completely off guard. And it was amazing. It was an incredible payoff, and it was like a wink to the fans. Sandra Schmidt says, time and space paradox, like Back to the Future. Well, it isn't. They explained that it doesn't work like Back to the Future, and Back to the Future is actually a bunch of... It's not... They don't say bullshit. They say some other word, but it's not... Basically, they say that the way Back to the Future does it, it's not actually how it works, and who knows? I don't know how it works. I never travel in time, that I can remember. Mick Rock says, Frank Grillo, it was great seeing him, and... I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy who plays Agent Sitwell. And then the other guy, who's actually a very familiar face, who's also in the elevator, and he eventually went on to be in Batman v Superman. But it was great seeing them, and I love the the scene when Ant-Man asks, "Who are those guys?" And Tony Stark is their shield. Well, actually, they're Hydra. We just didn't know that yet. And he's like, "You didn't know? They look like bad guys." Just great banter between the characters. Nicolas Cage says, sorry, I'm like, you don't have to be sorry, dude. You get here when you can, and if you have to leave. I'll always appreciate, even if you just spent 2 minutes in here. Nicolas Cage says, what do you think will happen with Black Widow? Her death was the most surprising for me. Me too. I was completely sure that Hawkeye was the one who's going to die. But in looking back and looking at everything they've built thus far, it makes sense for Black Widow to be the one who sacrificed herself in that moment. Weirdly enough, for me, even before this film, I've always been interested more in a prequel Black Widow film than in a sequel Black Widow film. Because, I don't know, just... I think now is the time to do personal, smaller origin stories with new characters rather than classic ones. Let's call them classic ones. So weirdly enough, and this doesn't happen at all with me, I was much more interested in a prequel Black Widow movie than in a sequel Black Widow movie. So I have my hopes up now for that film. And they reference Budapest again in this film. And it just hit me in this film that maybe Budapest is the event, the place, the moment when Hawkeye finally was able to recruit her to be with S.H.I.E.L.D. and leaving the Russian spy gang. Stuart Keating says, I didn't watch the original Avengers in theaters because I hopped on the bandwagon late. But it was nice to see that circular shot of the group on the big screen. I remember watching that shot for the first time, and that is still my favorite shot of all time. It was just a moment that I never thought I'd see, and now we are here 7 years later, and Endgame just. Why does this constantly hide swear words? Okay, fix it. Alexandria Vaughn says, "What did you think about Frigga and Thor scenes?" I love it because it was actually that scene I just spoke about it. It was that scene that saved where they were going with Thor for me. It was that scene that made him back into the compelling character that he truly is. Because the fattening thing, funny and all that, big Thorowski, but that scene is the one that reminded us what the conflict in his head was. The depression and the fat was just a physical manifestation of his depression and of him losing everything and not being able to get it back, despite killing Thanos. You just have that shot of him leaving Thanos's cabin, and he's all depressed, and he hasn't fought, he hasn't done anything for the last 5 years. And Frigga's scene was just spectacular. Rene Russo is also a charm to watch. But that scene, that connection, that relationship, Thor and his mother, it's just super sweet. It really got me. Where was I? Okay. Nicholas Cage says, "Still don't quite know if I like it or not. Not that I'm divided, just don't know without a second viewing. Plan on watching it next week sometime." All right. I've seen it 4 times by now, so I know it's gotten better on second viewing. It's gotten better on third viewing. On the 4th viewing, it didn't get better. It's just stayed as magnificent as it already was for me. No. Okay, Senator Schmidt says, "Stan Lee was CGI, was filmed before his death." They filmed it before his death. It looked CGI because they de-aged him, like they de-aged Michael Douglas in this film as well. To me, it was weird because it looked like Mark Maron from Glow playing Stan Lee. And so at first I felt disappointed, but on the other hand, I know I feel that way because Stan Lee has passed and we won't see him again. Because it's always a joy to see him show up. But I know I feel kind of disappointed because somehow in my head I built up the expectation that maybe they would do this kind of beautiful send-off to him. They didn't know he would die, so it wouldn't make sense for them to do that. Just a good cameo from Stan Lee. Maybe not the best, but a good cameo nonetheless. Stuart King says, "When Cap returned to Soulstone, did he meet Red Skull? That would have been awkward." I'm sure he did, and it's a meeting I would love to see. At the same time, it didn't belong in the story, so I understand why they took that out. But I really hope to see it as a deleted scene, even if it's just a description from the Russo saying, "Oh, we actually thought of the scene and how it was going to go." It would be really interesting to say that. I lost something. I didn't. Nicolas Cage says, "I had an absolutely incredible movie-going experience. Went to a super luxurious IMAX in a huge mall with an old friend, the guy who really got me into movies." That's awesome, man. I went with some friends, recent friends, to the press screenings, and then at night I went with a close group, like six close friends. On the day after that, I went with 2 very close friends, and yesterday I took my parents to see them because my father watched the first Iron Man with me, and we've watched most of them together. The only ones that my parents haven't seen is Black Panther, because it just came very close before me moving to London. They didn't see Ant-Man and the Wasp, which I was in London, so they didn't go. And they didn't see Captain Marvel because, again, I was still in London at that time. Okay, Nicolas Cage says, "Theater was packed, saw a bunch of cosplayers, 2 super convincing Doctor Strange and War Machine ones." That's awesome. I would love to see the War Machine ones. I've cosplayed as Doctor Strange before. Audience cheered just enough to enhance the experience. 3,000, a lifelong memory. In mine, too. The first 2 audiences I watched it with really cheered, applauded. We stood up. We stood up at the point where the Avengers come back. So it was an an incredible experience. It's hard to describe. Incredible doesn't make it justice. Doesn't do it justice. Nicolas Cage says, toilet lines were fucking hell, though. I remember, because in my second screening, they had intermission, which completely kills the pacing of the film, by the way. And I just remember on the side of my eye catching a guy who's running down the stairs, like just trampling down the stairs. He almost fell face first, and the sound of it sounded like a huge group of people just running, but it was just one guy. So he was really holding it in. Mick Rock Movie Review says, seen Endgame in a sold-out crowded theater, I assume. Still had to deal with the odd person on this. That sucks, man. I luckily didn't see anything. Maybe something happened behind me, but nobody talked loudly, no, except in the parts when they were just like reacting to something, and that's always cool. And yeah, nobody talked loudly. I didn't see anybody on their cell phone. One friend of mine who was in the theater on my second screening, but he wasn't sitting next to me. He was on another row of the theater. He said that a guy was laughing at like moments that weren't funny. And it wasn't like the jokes didn't work for my friend. It was just moments that they weren't saying any jokes or any puns or trying to be funny at all. So that was weird, but thankfully I didn't witness that. Nicolas Cage says, how much do you think Captain Marvel... How do you think Captain Marvel found Tony? Thought the beginning was super rushed. It didn't feel rushed. It felt fast, and intentionally so. And the fact that they didn't put the Captain Marvel post-credit scene in the film really made it work for me, because it makes sense. Okay, Captain Marvel came in before the film starts, at least after the Hawkeye scene. So she comes in, and they say, hey, there's this friend we have, or maybe even Rocket said it. There's this friend I have, they're in this ship, they went to Titan, because I'm sure they have coordinates. I'm sure Rocket can find coordinates for them. It's not the Milano, because they replace it. Because they replaced the ship, so now it's a new ship, but I don't know the name of the second ship. And so they told her the coordinates, and Captain Marvel is super fucking fast. So it moved the story onwards. It didn't bother me either way. It's not like I love how they did it. No, it just moved the story forwards. I bought it and I was okay with it. Mick Rock Movie Review says, seen Endgame. Okay, I read that one. Stuart Keating says, what I liked the most was that they kept the heaviness of the consequences of the snap rather than quickly forgetting about it time travel 10 minutes into the film. That's very true. I like that most of the film focuses on drama and how these people are not living, but trying to live through this catastrophe that hit half of the world. Even that little scene when Scott Lang gets out of the storage room, he's walking down a street, it's all abandoned, he's looking at all these newspapers saying people are missing, and then there's this kid who passes by him on a bike, and he's like, hey kid, what happened? And the kid starts choking up, like, are you joking, dude? Are you asking me what happened? You're insane. And he just not walks away because he's on a bike, just rides away. So it's really moments like that really hit you with the heaviness of what's going on. Nicolas Cage says, Robert Downey Jr.'s body transformation was so either insanely convincing CG or some serious method acting you don't often see in these blockbusters. I honestly don't know if it is CGI or method acting. I really don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it was CGI. It would kind of be the same thing they did back in 2011 with Captain America: The First Avenger with Chris Evans. But it looked so good. I mean, he looked awful because he's malnourished for almost a month. But either it was practical or CGI, it looked good on screen, convincing. We have a troll, so I'm not going to address that. Oh, I lost you guys. Okay. Was that Thanos double-ended sword made of vibranium on steroids? I think it's a metal that we don't have or know on Earth. Because, I mean, the universe is a big place. I'm sure Thanos can find... I'm sure Thanos, the Infinity Gauntlet, is not the first time Thanos built something on this insanely crazy, not planet, but in the case of Nidavellir, a star. I'm sure he's got space blacksmiths everywhere, and there's lots of materials that we don't have or know on Earth. Nicolas Cage says, no, I lost. Okay. Southern Regiment says silver lining for Cap. I mean, he's got more than silver lining. He's got a full life like he deserved, like he always wanted to. He could finally walk away from the fight, which unfortunately was all he had for it. He didn't have a day job. He didn't have a wife to return to. The others did. Cap just had the fight. Now, for him, the fight is over, and he served us well. Nicolas Cage has an infinite amount of "if you told me before that" seeing moments. Appreciated how bold and unexpected the entire movie was. Truly pulling no punches. I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't expect at least half the things that happened in this film, and I'm so glad they went full-on insane comic book panel worthy moments in this film. That shot before the Avengers come back, that wide shot of just Captain America standing in front of Thanos' army. I want to paint that on a freaking wall. Nicolas Cage says, like, who'd have thought Hawkeye was going to sacrifice Black Widow to Red Skull to get the Soul Stone 7 years ago? That's the point I realized I might love this film. It's moments like that it's fan service that serves the story. They never walk away from the story to fan service. They find ways to really have the story going forward, but they understand what they are giving us, the fans who have been there for 11 years, and those who read the comics even more. On your left, one of the best lines from Winter Soldier. But now, that line is officially iconic. Never did I... It's a funny line. I've said it a few times to friends just walking past them or in other situations. But now that line is taken on proportions I had never dreamed of. Kind of feels poetic that the Russos first presented that line to us, and now they elevated it so much more. Stuart King says, just a fun fact I found, that random teenage-looking kid at Tony's funeral was the kid from Iron Man 3. Had absolutely no... I had, in all my screenings, I had people next to me asking who was that kid. And I'm like, it's the kid from Iron Man 3. It just shows how big of a nerd I am, and I have no life, and I just know these things off the top of my head. I'm a huge fucking nerd. But the kid he's really grown, so he looks completely different than he does in Iron Man 3. So it makes sense for many people not to know him. In my second screening, all the friends I went with, no, one of them didn't know who that kid was, but the rest of them were like, who the fuck was that kid at Tony's funeral in front of Maria Hill and Thunderbolt Ross? It was a kid from Iron Man 3. But you're not the only one who didn't recognize him, Stuart. Why are you hiding Nicolas Cage's comments and Sandro's comments? Okay. Nicolas Cage says that the crowd reacted towards the on your left. Crowd was like, oh yeah, holy shit. Mine, we just got up and we cheered at the press screening, which still boggles my mind, like a fucking press screening. Wow. Sandra says, so Disney will not launch the Blu-ray in Portugal. They will, it just won't have Portuguese subtitles, and I'm absolutely fine with that. Nicolas Cage says, that final act was pure, unfiltered comic book madness. It was. I was just smiling from ear to ear. I was leaning back on my seat, just looking at it, and I'm like, I cannot believe I'm seeing this. Even after all the other 21 movies, I cannot believe I am seeing this. Mick Rock says, Captain Marvel is the only character I didn't like, and I'm still not sold on Brie Larson either. I liked her. I liked her a lot. I think Brie Larson... I like the Captain Marvel movie. I liked her even more in this one. And they used her very well. They didn't use her as overpowered. They used her functionally to serve the story. It's not like I'm walking out of this film saying Captain Marvel was the fucking best. But I'm walking out of this film, that's a really cool character. Stuart King says, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 with Thor kind of confirmed. I'm so looking forward to that. Me too. I really hope they do, because since at least part of that film will be searching for Gamora, who doesn't know anyone, so she's running away from people, I think the storyline with Thor about finding himself can really play a parallel to that and play into Gamora finding herself in this family that they know her, they love her, but she doesn't yet know them. So I think that could be a really, really cool story. Joe Magallanes says, the Avengers Assemble moment just became one of my favorite moments in movie history. My entire cinema shouted. It was an experience like no other. Mine too, man. When Captain America finally says it. Again, a moment where we got up again and we applauded. And we stayed up and applauded for a while. It was kind of until the moment that Peter Parker helps Iron Man and Giant Man stomps on Cull Obsidian. That's the name of the guy. And so the movie stops for a breather there, and so we sat down and just enjoyed that moment, which was really, really sweet. Nicolas Cage says, never would have thought I'd like time travel before seeing, but it was treated with so much fun and creativity. Me too. I was already a fan of time travel. I love the concept of time travel. I would love to travel in time if I could. But the way this film did it, that is so different from the others, made me like it even more. I was already in it if they were going to treat it like The Flash or Terminator or Quantum Leap or Die Hard. No, that's not how it works. I love that moment. I wonder if that Die Hard was specifically written into the script, or Paul Rudd just went, hey, I'm going to say a movie that doesn't use time travel and just play them. I'm really curious to finding that out. Where am I? Stuart Keating says, in my cinema, I had a guy behind me explaining every single line of dialogue to a guy next to him. It was legitimately making me mad. I want to Hulk out. I get you, man. In my third screening, there was a guy behind me. He wasn't like explaining every single line of dialogue, but he was like, oh, that's this guy. Oh, that. Oh, I wonder what he's going to do now. Oh my God, did you see that? It's not even like he was excited. It's not like he expressed any emotion, but he was saying stuff like that throughout the whole film. And my head was throbbing. I was just thankful that I had already seen the film and I wasn't just watching it for the first time, having this guy behind me constantly talking and not shutting the fuck up. If it was my third time, I would have gotten up and told him to shut up. Joe Magana says, is Spider-Man Far From Home still around the time where Peter was in high school? Because technically 5 years have passed, but not for him. Still he has the same classmates in the trailer. I don't know. It was confirmed. I actually didn't read this myself, but I was having a conversation. Someone told me, I haven't researched it, so don't quote me on this. Take this with a grain of salt and go research it yourselves, because I will after this video. So apparently, it has been confirmed that every main classmate of Peter, like MJ, Ned, Flash, and I'm forgetting the blonde girl's name. She is the character who eventually works at the Daily Bugle as well. I can't remember her, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Those main classmates were also dusted, and so now they are still in high school in the same class as Peter. That's why in the trailer we see those main characters that we know from Homecoming, but there's one or two new characters, new students in the class. So coincidental, sure, but I like it. The time travels are so confusing. They are. That's why I think we haven't figured time travel out in real life, because they are so confusing. What is actually going to happen? Is it going to be like a Flash or Back to the Future or Quantum Leap or Terminator or Star Trek? Or is it going to be like Doctor Who? Or is it going to be like Avengers Endgame? I might prefer Avengers Endgame, just because it's very recent, so I'm not going to say a definitive answer on that, but I might prefer the way time travel works in Avengers Endgame. Where am I? Super Lazy 1987 says, did you like the new Hulk or not? I'm going to tell you this. The Hulk is my favorite character in the comic books. I like me a savage, raged out Hulk. But it only makes sense that in the MCU, a different universe from the comics, as they do stories in a different way, as they present characters in a different way, going in different directions, they eventually reach different destinations. Let's say that. So it makes sense for this character of Mark Ruffalo, not Mark Ruffalo, he's the actor. It makes sense for this version of Bruce Banner to want to do this with himself and with his Hulk. And it's not like we didn't get a Savage Hulk. We went back to 2012 to the original Avengers, which is my favorite version of Hulk. That and Age of Ultron, because they're pretty much the same over there. It makes sense for him to be this new version of the Hulk, the Professor Hulk version. What I'm hoping, and ultimately he saved the universe. He's the one who brought everyone back. It was Professor Hulk who brought everyone back. So let's not sell that character short. What I'm hoping, even though he's got an unfixable right arm, I seriously hope they still use him in the future. And just maybe, just maybe, and here's me crossing my fingers as a huge Hulk fan, just maybe, if the Hulk gets out of control ever again, somehow, some way, I don't know how it will make sense, but if the Hulk rages out again and becomes full-on Hulk, maybe the arm will be fixed. Here's hoping, and here's hoping that it makes sense if they do that, of course. Mick Rock says Captain America versus Captain America. That is America's ass. One of my favorite moments in the film, and actually as they were falling down from that bridge in the building and they crashed all over the place, I was thinking, this reminds me to tell people to stop making everything out of glass. It's just dangerous, people. Let's stop making everything out of glass, because glass breaks rather easily if you do the wrong thing. And I love that current Cap told past Cap to get out of the chokehold, that Bucky is alive. Again, everything about Captain America in 2012 Avengers, I loved. Just amazing. Nicolas Cage says, suspected it would be some cliche, this is the last stand, super dark BS. It was positively surprised beyond belief when I realized the movie had an actual sense of fun and creativity. Me too, and it doesn't stop being a rather dark film because of it. People are depressed. People know this is their last shot, and if this doesn't work, and they're not even sure if this will work, but they still do it because they are heroes, and we were able to see the human side more than the hero side for most of the film. In the third act, in the most pleasant way possible, we saw the fucking heroes kicking ass. But yeah, it does. You don't have to stop having a sense of humor and creativity because things are dark. Life is dark and full of terrors, and we still laugh, we still cry. When we're sad, we laugh. When we're happy, we cry. Things happen. It's not just one thing. Nicolas Cage says, my contrasting feeling looking at the giant billboard poster before and after seeing the movie was just indescribable. Man, I tell you, there was this huge banner in the cinema I went to first seeing it that basically goes across this huge wall, and somewhere in that wall you have the bathroom. So the poster was cut out, not where any character was, but in a place where just the purple background was. And I took a picture there right after watching the film for the first time. Indescribable, as you say, indescribable. Stuart Keating says, I didn't lose Stuart. Did Captain America inject the ether into Natalie Portman? I guess he brought the chloroform with him. I didn't think about chloroform, but if you got out of her rather easily, I think you can get it into her rather easily. I mean, the ether has a mind of its own. So he just opens the, what is it? This is not a bottle, but the recipient, let's say. He just opens the recipient up and throws it at Natalie Portman, and she's in. Also, Captain America is a human, so I'm sure, and he has America's ass, so I'm sure Natalie Portman wouldn't mind getting a visit from good old Captain America. I think she would mind getting a visit from a talking raccoon. That's why Rocket had to be so stealthy. Nicolas Cage says, Thor Lebowski was super funny in the beginning, but kind of feel he should have abandoned the joke and actually treated his PTSD like PTSD. I felt they did that as soon as he had the conversation with his mother, Frigga. There was one other joke after that I remember, which was War Machine saying cheese whiz, but Thor himself was super serious after that. He was back to being Thor. Even in the final battle, he's like, you know, it's a trap, right? And Iron Man's like, yeah, but I don't really care. Good, as long as we're all in agreement. And here comes the God of Thunder, which sure still has a belly button. We all have a belly button. Still has a beer gut, but God, he's Viking Thor as I know and love him. And I'm sure he'll be all fit come the next film. The Asgardians of the Galaxy. Stuart Keating says, my favorite part was seeing Peter Quill sing and dance without hearing the music. He was soft tune. I love that scene. I love that moment. And they were clearly building to it. When I watched it the second time, I was like, oh yeah, they're clearly building, showing us the music again, even starting it in the scene before, and to just show us what it's like looking from the outside in. And I love the moment where War Machine just knocks him out. And yesterday I was in a live Avengers spoilers discussion on Adam Daly's channel, and we actually talked about how Peter Quill has a nice nice recovery time for concussions. And I was like, let's remember that Peter Quill in 2014 is half eternal. So it wouldn't really hurt that much. I'm actually surprised he stayed down right after that. No, I didn't lose anything. Nicholas Cage says, the Quantum Realm visuals are just mind-blowing in IMAX. They are. They truly are. My first screening was in IMAX. I totally recommend it. I wish I could see this film in IMAX non-3D, but in my area there just aren't any screenings that are IMAX and not 3D, unfortunately. But I wish I could. Still, in the 3D, I still recommend the IMAX experience, since this film and Infinity War are the first and so far only films to be absolutely 100% all shot on IMAX and not 3D. Stuart Keating says, was Black Widow's shooting practice scene in the trailers not in the movie? I don't remember. I don't think it was. I don't think it was. In fact, I think it should be cut. I didn't miss that scene, but I'm actually intrigued to go back and watch the trailers, because now that you asked that, I don't remember what color her hair was in that scene. So if it was blonde, it should have been in the beginning. If it was like red with blonde tips, I don't know where they would have placed that in the film, because she never gets into the battle with Thanos, and she wouldn't be training like that to go to the Quantum Realm. There's also another shot with Black Widow that's in the trailers and not in the film, which is when she's sitting down in the outside area of the mansion. At least I think it's the outside area of the mansion. She's sitting down. No, she's not wearing an umbrella there, but it's raining and she's just sitting down, crouching down, maybe in a scene where she still hadn't found Hawkeye, or she was still debating with herself if she should go after him to try and save him. So I don't know, but that scene, no, it's not in the movie. I've seen it 4 times, so God, if I missed it, I'm a dumb moron, which I am. Where am I? Nicolas Cage. Like how big the Avengers shot was really at Tony's funeral, not a big battle. That's true. That's very true. A one-take shot that doesn't stop, just goes into every important character who's had their film, who's been an Avenger, who's been in contact with Tony Stark some way, somehow. Really, really like that shot, that moment. By the way, totally called Tony who sacrificed himself, killing Thanos, and everyone told me I was wrong. Ha! Sorry, I need some water. Walking in, if I had to choose between Tony or Cap dying, I chose Tony several times over. I told everyone, if any one of them is going to die, it's going to be Tony. I didn't think about specifics, and watching the film, I was so into it, I completely forgot every theory I walked in with. Then after the film, I started thinking, I got some things right, I got some things wrong, I'm totally fine with that. I'm starting to lose interest in theorizing about what's going to happen, because I just want to be surprised. I just want films to surprise me. I don't want to think too much about it. That's why nowadays, for like, if not 2 years, it's almost 2 years since I've started doing this, I've stopped watching second trailers. I've watched it for Avengers Endgame. That's true. I did watch it for Avengers Endgame, and last year I watched it for Avengers Infinity War, but those are the only ones. General rule, 99% of films that come out and have trailers, I don't watch second trailers, just the first one. Stuart Keating says, that explains why they didn't show the year of Peter's passport in the Far From Home trailer. That is very true. I didn't think too much about the year not showing in Peter's passport. When I say I didn't think too much about it, I thought they were just covering themselves up because they fucked up on the timeline in how many years passed since the first Avenger and Spider-Man Homecoming. But I had no idea they were going to do something this quote-unquote big and jump 5 years in the future. So now I think most Marvel films that we see from now on will be taking place in the future, because the 5-year interval from the moment we are standing, or rather from the moment of Infinity War, since last year, we've had a 5-year gap. So until 2023, every Marvel movie we watch will be happening in the future. Unless they go back. I guess in the Black Widow film they will go back, so it will be in the past. Where am I? Sandra Shiment. No, I love you, bro, but I gotta watch GOT. Great to see you. Great to see you, Sandra. Thanks for being here. Go enjoy GOT. I watched it earlier today, and my review is up on the channel if you want to check it out after this video. Shameless plug 101. Where is Stuart? Stuart King says, all those dusted people basically time travel 5 years into the future. I wish I was the same age in 2024. In other words, I want to be dusted. Stuart, I don't have my Infinity Gauntlet here. I have it back in London, but I promise you, I will snap my fingers when I get back to London, and then you'll let me know if you were dusted. Just send me an angry message on Twitter if you are not dusted after I snap my fingers. João Magalhães says, who do you think they will choose as the next big MCU villain, or do you think they are going with more individual stories now? I think we're going to build to an event film like the first Avengers. So now, on the pipeline, we have Spider-Man Far From Home, which is going to be the last film of the Phase 4, so it will make total sense for them to, at least in part, be dealing with the events of the Snap and the events of Endgame. It will make sense for them to be discussing Tony Stark's death and where Peter Parker goes from now on. So that will close out this phase that we've accompanied so far. Then we'll have the Black Widow film, which, being a prequel, I don't think will have much effect going forward. Then we'll have Doctor Strange 2 is coming next year in October, November. We have, I think Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is 2021. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Because I know it was delayed, but I think right now it's slated for 2021. After that, I'm really expecting the Marvel Universe. We'll have Shang-Chi. That doesn't have a clear date yet, I think. And we have the Eternals. The Eternals is also 2021, I think. I don't know if it has a confirmed specific date yet, but I think it's 2021. I expect the MCU to go a lot more cosmic. Even with Captain Marvel, we're sure going to get Captain Marvel 2 with the money it's made. And we'll for sure get Black Panther 2. But with Captain Marvel specifically, they made a really strong point in this film to say that she operates outside of Earth. Space is her main territory that she covers. So Captain Marvel will be cosmic, as Guardians of the Galaxy will be cosmic, the Eternals will be cosmic, and I really want them to present the Fantastic Four before they present the X-Men. So let's compare the X-Men. The sheer size of the X-Men alone are good enough to fill an Endgame type of film. So I think presenting the Fantastic Four and add them to the new main roster of Avengers that we have now after Endgame will be a much better idea, and we can have our big first event film after Endgame to be some of the Avengers teaming up with the newly welcomed Fantastic Four. And I think we're going to build to Galactus, who will not be a Cloud in his next iteration now that he's in the MCU. Either that, or we'll build to Kang the Conqueror. But I think the Kang the Conqueror can be a really nice villain when we already have the X-Men and we have a big, overwhelming roster of heroes again. I've read that. Where are we? Super Lazy says, what do you think of the new Russo brothers movie 21 Bridges? I know the trailer is out, but I haven't seen it yet. I know it's a drama with Chadwick Boseman, and I've heard somebody make a joke about 21 Bridges being what happens right after Endgame, so I'm guessing other MCU actors are there, but I haven't seen the trailer. If I'm not mistaken, it came out on Wednesday, which was when I saw Avengers Endgame for the first time. And press screenings in Portugal, they don't happen around my city, so I have to travel 2.5 hours by train to go south of the country. I watched the film. They're usually at 10:30. This one was at 10 because it was 3 hours. I catch the train back home, back up north at 2, and then I get home around 5. Then I have to work on the review, edit it. It's up about an hour later, and then I had to head to my second screening at night after dinner with some friends. I had dinner with them over at the shopping mall, and so I didn't have time to check 21 Bridges out, but I will remember it. Thank you so much, Super Lazy. I will check out that trailer as soon as we're done with this video. Stuart says, so when Captain America tried to lift Mjolnir in Age of Ultron, was he pretending not to lift it? No. I mean, my theory is no. My theory is that back in Age of Ultron, Cap was holding the secret that Winter Soldier had killed Tony's parents. So because he was holding back a lie, he was not being 100% honest with a friend. I think that made him not worthy yet, because in everything else, Cap is like the best person anyone can be. He's like a true ultimate role model. But since Age of Ultron, he has now told Tony the secret. The truth is all out there. They've laid their cards on the table. That's the right metaphor. Lay their cards on the table, and now he truly is worthy. Stuart King says, did anyone think old Cap was Clint Eastwood? I didn't think he was, but now that you mention it, he does look like Clint Eastwood. He has more hair, though. And when we first see him, so Sam walks to him. There's this wide shot. Sam walks to him. We see Sam first on a close-up. There's this angled shot towards him. And then we see Chris Evans on his side. So the camera is right here. We see Chris Evans looking like this. And I didn't realize it was him until he turns his face, and I'm like, oh shit, that's Chris Evans in makeup. That makeup is amazing. So I really like that. Now that you mention it, he does look a bit like Clint Eastwood. Nicolas Cage, 1 of 3. Tony's sacrifice for his overall character treatment was for sure my favorite aspect. Wasn't super attentive to the movie's meaning and subtext on first viewing, as I shouldn't be. But love how Tony's sacrifice was defeating the ultimately abusive father after having a... That's right, I didn't think about that one. Ultimate tribute to the entire story of the MCU and the ultimate payoff of the MCU's longest-running theme of fatherhood. Agree. And we also have the moment of Tony meeting his father, who was also abusive. He got over that. He understands his father wanted the best for him. It's just a beautiful, beautiful arc that he had. They close it. Again, looking back, it totally makes sense for Tony to have an arc where he dies, where he started off as a selfish character. He makes the ultimate sacrifice. I love how they closed out his arc. It was beautiful. That's the word to describe it, beautiful. Stuart King says, when Nebula and War Machine were collecting Power Stone, I expected the Who guy to show up. I didn't think about that, but I expected to. I guess they got it. They got that before them because Korag, that's the guy who says Who, he was working with Ronan. So if Ronan doesn't get to know... So Korag is working with Ronan, and then we cut to the scene where 2014 Thanos comes in, and he says that he has found an Infinity Stone, and he's going to let Ronan know and send Gamora to his ship. So that's the moment where Ronan is about to know that an Infinity Stone is there in the place that Star-Lord caught it. But at this moment in time, when Nebula and War Machine go there, he still hasn't found out, because we have Thanos saying, "Oh, he did he say?" He either said Ronan found it, or that he's found it and he's going to let Ronan know. But if that's what happened, if Thanos found it and hasn't let Ronan know yet, Ronan couldn't send his forces there, so that's why they didn't show up. I'll have to check that out again, so I have to go to a 5th screening. Oh my god, what a bummer. And Nicolas Cage goes to what I said before. Also, he met his own father, which I'm sure plays into it. We'll definitely be more attentive next week. Nicolas Cage says, holy shit, forgot about the Robert Redford cameo. Didn't he retire? I'm not sure he retired, because when he said he retired, then came out conflicting reports that he didn't retire for sure. Either way, let's say he retired. Honestly, I'm sure he shot this very quick scene that he's in before he shot his supposed last film, which is The Old Man and the Gun, which I totally recommend for those of you who haven't seen it. Oh shit. We jumped. Okay, here we are. Nicolas Cage says, the whole New York aftermath sequence was just madness. Cap versus Cap and Hail Hydra. That is America's ass. I wish my country had an ass like that, I tell you that. Amazing moments and the Hail Hydra. I didn't think we were going to see that. I was thinking, yeah, we're just going to have a recreation of the elevator fight scene, which was the work of the Russos. So it made total sense, but Hail Hydra was just such a good payoff. Stuart King says, I thought Chris Hemsworth couldn't get any hotter, but Endgame proved me wrong. I'm sure a lot of ladies and a lot of fellas feel that same way, Stuart. Chris Hemsworth just got way more hotter than he's ever been. And somehow he lost all that weight for Men in Black International, which I actually think it looks much better than it should look from the first trailer, because I haven't seen the second one. He is as hot as it can be. Did you guys notice that even though he has this huge beer gut, you can kind of still see abs in his body, or at least a mark of previous abs? I guess he's still a god, so it makes sense. Okay, I did that one. Nicolas Cage says, "Love the world building for the snap's aftermath. Felt like the number one most natural continuation." Same, man. Same. People are just soaking, and it's hard to move on. I love the little meeting scene that Captain America has with Joe Russo. And for those of you who didn't notice, there's a bald guy there with like a goatee. That guy is Jim Starlin, creator of Thanos in the comics. Great cameo. I was giddy, and I was the only one giddy because I was the only one who knew who that person was. I wonder if Aunt May met Drax at the Destroyer at Tony's funeral. Was another realization moment of how much I love the entire wild, crazy extravaganza universe thing. That would be a fun meeting. That would be a fun meeting. An even funner meeting. Funner? An even more fun meeting, let's say, would be Thunderbolt Ross to a now intelligent Hulk. I would love to see that meeting as well. Although he would find that strange because that doesn't look like Edward Norton. Where are we? Super Lazy. Did you hear the hammer banging when Marvel logo came on at the end of the film? I did. I felt it was a tribute salute to Tony Stark, because we don't do that here, but I know in America it's a thing. When people die, we have like, is it a 10 or 12 bell salute? And the hammer banging sounded like someone building something, like Tony did when he was in captivity in the first Iron Man. And I don't remember if they were 10 bells or 12 bells. Again, it's not a thing. I don't want to disrespect anything, but I'm not going to pretend like I understand the thing. But it sounded like that was the kind of thing they were going for. Nicolas Cage says Sharon's kiss is possibly even more creepy now. That's very true. Although, if history doesn't repeat itself, Steve kissed Sharon before she became his nephew. His niece. Not nephew. What the fuck is wrong with me? Niece. Nicolas Cage says that ending was so beautiful though. Return of the King-esque. That's exactly what came into my mind. I prefer it to Return of the King, to be honest. But I'm biased. I grew up with these films. I love these films. That's the beautiful thing about the subjectivity. But I felt such a deep connection. It was so much what Captain America deserved. It was so beautiful. And again, then there's the selfish side of me who's like, no, give me Captain America back. I need my Captain America. Stuart Keating says, when Hulk snapped with a gauntlet, he struggled so much to do so. Stark did it pretty easily. Does that have anything to do with Hulk reviving half the universe while Stark only dusted Thanos' army? I didn't think about that one, but possibly. What I thought about as well was that Hulk only had a glove, so eventually the energy of the stones couldn't go into the glove, so it just destroyed Hulk's body. When it comes to Tony, he has an entire suit. And you see the colors of the stones, the rays of energy coming down into his arc reactor. So I assume the arc reactor absorbed it. And you can see him struggling a little bit. Not as much as he should have, of course, not as much as the Hulk struggled. But I think it's because the Hulk only has a glove. And it's a glove that you can see at the end of it. It was made to be a part of a suit. In Tony, he has the entire suit on, so it just runs through the suit. And it just goes into his arc reactor. So I think the arc reactor absorbed a lot of that energy. Maybe it shouldn't, but it did. Why the fuck is it jumping? Okay, Hulk eating pancakes and taking selfies was another moment. It was such a good introduction. Basically, it was the Hulk filling himself up on carbs and protein, which he needs to be that size. Oh, another thing I noticed on the second view is that so the kids go and ask for a picture with Hulk, and then Ant-Man asks, "You want a picture with me? I'm Ant-Man." And the kids will know him because they're really young, and Ant-Man hasn't been a thing for 5 years. They have no idea who Ant-Man is. It's not a matter of fact. It's not like It's not because he isn't cool. It's because they have no idea who this person is. So it goes in the into the the whole 5 years thing. Nicolas Cage says, I don't think I want the X-Men in the MCU, to be honest. Always like them more separate. I agree with you, kind of. I want them to be in the MCU, but I would like them to be in a separate universe by themselves, where mutants have been a thing, and they only come in to help the Avengers and the other ones in big event movies. I think the Fantastic Four belong in this universe, in the main timeline, that's for sure. But I would prefer to see the X-Men in a parallel universe, kind of. Maybe they fucked up the timeline somehow with delivering the stones back and whatnot, and in another universe they created mutants. Stuart Keating says Hulk was really funny in this film. I loved it. I loved Mark Ruffalo being more freer, let's say, freer to act as himself, and I loved how they put Bruce Banner as kind of the dad who's trying to be cool with the kids, and he accomplishes it. Nicolas Cage says, of course I wouldn't mind a Fantastic Four, but I really hope Phase 4 leans more into more weird, trippy, obscure parts of its source material. Me too, and I think they're going to. I think they're going to start going more cosmic. So the movies we have lined up, at least half of them are cosmic. So I think we're building to that to then present Fantastic Four going to different dimensions, who are not like the quantum realm, but kind of reminds you of what it's like to go into the quantum realm. Nicolas Cage says, also some more Ragnarokish creative control for the filmmakers. I want control for the filmmakers, but I don't want more Ragnarok-y stuff. This Endgame and the Infinity War one, that's the kind of funny Thor that I want. The Thor that doesn't understand social norms, the Thor that doesn't understand what it's like to be here on Earth. Like in the first Thor, this coffee, I like it. Another, and he smashes the mug. That's the kind of funny Thor that I like, that he doesn't understand where he's at socially. I don't like the Thor who tries to be funny and who calls Surtur a son of a bitch. And honestly, for a Thor movie, Thor is like the only character that the film doesn't understand. But Chris Hemsworth had so much fun in that film. You can clearly feel that. He made it watchable. And I have fun with Thor Ragnarok. Don't get me wrong. I like Thor Ragnarok. I like all the MCU movies on different degrees. Thor Ragnarok is on the lower side, but I still like it. Because it understands, for instance, the Hulk's struggle so much more. I looked inside because I have a Hulk figure here. I don't know if you can see it. Can you? No, you can't. Here. Yeah, here's a figure who's actually from Thor Ragnarok, and this is Gladiator Hulk from the comics. Again, I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but let's move on. No spoilers, but don't mess with the Starks. Don't mess with the Starks, dude. And by the way, for a franchise that has multiple Starks and another that only has one Stark, I mean, it has 3 Starks, but one Stark, the franchise with the one Stark, that Stark, spoilers, died. And that's all I'll say. Stuart Keating, do you think Batman from BVS should be worthy to lift me? I don't think so. In that universe, honestly, I think only Superman would be able to lift Mjolnir. He shouldn't, at least yet. And you guys know I love Man of Steel. Nicolas Cage knows I love Man of Steel more than most people. But that Superman could be worthy of lifting Mjolnir, just not yet. Maybe The Flash is able to lift Mjolnir whenever that movie comes out, if it ever comes out. I don't think it's going to come out ever. Holy Tosh says, why did you cry like a baby? This is one of my close friends who I went to see the movie for my 3rd time. It was the first time, and I cried like a baby. Spoiler alert, on my 4th time, I still cried like a baby because it was awesome, and I lived for this, and I never thought I'd seen this in a fucking movie, which is the thing I love the most. So yeah. And she sends a smiley face, which is something she does a lot because she likes to smile. Where am I? Why did we jump? Okay. Though I'm fucking pissed off that they didn't bring back Justin Hammer. Ex-wife should have killed Thanos. You're a pussy, Feige. Seriously, though. Can we just toss away charisma like Sam Rockwell? It's outrageous. We shouldn't. We shouldn't throw out charisma like Sam Rockwell. Sam Rockwell, I think, is a treasure. And in his own words, the worst thing possible that can happen to a actor happened to him when he won the Oscar, because now everybody is going to know who he is. Stuart Keaton says, how would you rank all the Avengers movie? Mine is literally the descending order. Avengers 4, 3, 2, and the first Avengers. Yes, I rank Age of Ultron above the original. You're not the first one to do that, man. And it's the beauty of the subjectivity of film. Until last Wednesday, the original Avengers was my favorite film of all time. No, it wasn't after the 3 viewings. After 2 viewings, I was like, yep, Avengers Endgame tops it. So Avengers Endgame is my favorite. The first Avengers comes right after, then Avengers Infinity War, and then Age of Ultron. I love them all. I think they're all spectacular. They're all in my top 5 MCU films. Yeah, top 5 MCU films. The first one being Endgame, then the Avengers, then Civil War, then Infinity War, and then Age of Ultron. And after that, Winter Soldier. Just outside the top 5 now that Avengers Endgame came out. More surprising cameo, Jarvis, Natalie Portman, Robert Redford, or Ancient One? Ooh. They're all surprising, and for different reasons. But when I think about it in retrospect, I gotta say Jarvis, because he's not even a character in the movies. He was just a character on a TV show, which the movies keep themselves very strongly separate from. So seeing James Darcy playing Jarvis in the film, like he did in Agent Carter, was great, and it's got to be the most surprising of them all. After that, I would say Natalie Portman, because she's expressed disinterest in being back, and I honestly think her scene was the latest scene from Ragnarok, and they just added Rocket CGI afterwards. So to me, it's Jarvis. Natalie Portman has a close second. I'll say the Ancient One, number 3. Because I just wasn't I mean, as soon as they start talking about the Sanctum Sanctorum, and as soon as we go into New York 2012, I'm like, oh shit, is it going to be the Ancient One in the Sanctum Sanctorum? And it was. But they were all really, really surprising. My God, really surprising. Nicolas Cage says, the logistical implications... Oh, shit. The logistical implications of undoing the snap are pretty fucking dark, though. 3 billion people suddenly appearing out of nowhere. Everything doesn't just go back to normal. Plus, the survivors of the snap who died within those 5 years. That's very true. Actually, I'm going to go very deep into this one. Into this thing that you mentioned, survivors of the snap dying within the 5 years. And I thought about this yesterday when I saw... I didn't read the news because I don't want to know a lot about the film going in, but I saw this headline of John Watts, director of Spider-Man: Homecoming and Far From Home, describing Peter's relationship with Mysterio, and he's like, so if Tony Stark was this father figure to Peter and he's now gone, what if Mysterio is like a cool uncle? And I'm thinking, since Mysterio, we know he's going to be a villain. It's not a spoiler. If he's going to be a villain, what if he's someone who got dusted, but his family didn't? Kind of like the reverse Hawkeye. But now he's been brought back 5 years later, and his family has died since the snap. So he's all alone. He comes back 5 years in the future, getting a second chance at life. He's all happy, but his family is gone. This actually came from something that Adam Daly said yesterday on his live, that he said he wanted villains to be created from the snap or the reverse of the snap, and together with that headline that I saw, I put these two together, and it's a really, really interesting vision. I don't know if they're going to do it. It's not like I'm going to hate the movie if this is not what they're doing. I just think it's an interesting idea, and even if it's not Mysterio, maybe they do it with someone else. Cheeseburgers, cry time. It's such a great scene, and Jon Favreau's like a little chuckle that he sends out because Morgan reminds him so much of his best friend, her father, and to think that Jon Favreau is the one that started all this as a director, and now he's sitting there in his character's funeral. Such a heartbreaking moment. Everything about the ending of this film They've earned so much of what they do in this film. Hey, Pep, cry time. The only words that those are Tony Stark's last words and only words after the snap. And I love the moment where Pepper smiles at him through the pain to give him one last smile from the woman that he loved. And she says, Tony, we're going to be okay. You can rest now. It's such a beautiful moment. I'm tearing up just thinking about it. Oh, ooh. Okay, Stuart says, never liked Nebula more than now. She was really good. She is the low-key MVP of this film. I've liked Nebula in other films. I liked her in Guardians. I really liked her in Guardians 2. In Guardians 2, the relationship between Nebula and Gamora is my favorite part. I really, really liked her in Avengers Infinity War. She didn't have a lot of screen time, but screen time that she had was really great character development. In this one, she's one of the MVPs. She's like in top 5 best characters in this film. That's for sure. And I loved Karen Gillan before from Doctor Who. She'll always be Amy Pond to me. We jumped. Okay. I never cried watching a movie. I'm just not that guy. But during Hey Pep, some fucking dude was cutting onions in the theater. Like, who does that? I don't know, man. I've cried in films. I'm the type of guy who will cry when the situation calls for it. And this is so in movies I've cried the most, this movie gets second place. The only film I've cried more than I did in Endgame, and in Endgame it was a combination of crying from sadness and happiness at the same time, intertwined. The only movie I've cried more than I did in Endgame, and in that one it was all sadness, was Achi, A Dog's Tale. If you're a dog person, if you've never seen this film, watch it. I have the DVD. The first time I watched this was at home, laying in that bed, on the DVD. I have never had the balls to watch that film again. I cried through the whole credits like a fucking baby in that film. Achi, A Dog's Tale, with Richard Gere and I think Joan Allen. I think it's Joan Allen. I might be wrong, but I think it's Joan Allen. Rocket's genuine fear, Nicolas Cage says, Rocket's genuine fear as he was about to drown was pretty moving too. It was. Rocket has a really good emotional moments in this film. There's the moment where he just goes to hold Nebula's hand. He doesn't say anything. They aren't the best of friends, but he understands the Guardians are gone, and she's the only one left that he knows from before all this. It's a beautiful moment. And also when Thor chops this arm off Thanos, and he turns the gauntlet and the stones are gone, he's like, oh no. It's a really good moment. He also has a good moment that is not like emotional, but it's really funny when him and Tony and Professor Hulk are finishing the gauntlet and putting the stones in, and they're just looking on, and Rocket's like, boom! And they get kind of pissed at him. Really, really great moments for Rocket, honestly. What do you think they'll do with 2014 Gamora in Guardians 3? Well, I was saying that my working theory right now is, so Thor has joined the Guardians, and he's on this path to find himself and who he truly is. Gamora feels like she's all alone. She's turned on her father like she's always wanted to, but she doesn't know the Guardians. Not yet. She can't trust them. It's just not in her nature. So I think those stories can be very good parallels to each other as Guardians of the Galaxy 3. James Starbucks says, sorry I'm late to the party. Don't apologize, man. You get here whenever you can, and whenever you have to go out, you go out. I always appreciate it, even if people just have 5 minutes to be here. Stuart Keating says, too bad Thanos didn't dust Fortnite. I mean, dusting off the universe is fine, but Fortnite should have joined them. I agree. Honestly, the only thing Fortnite did that is good is serving as a joke in Avengers Endgame. When Noob Master 69 is bullying Korg, and he's like, hey Thor, he's back. And then Thor is like, hey Noob Master 69, it's Thor the God of Thunder again. If you mess with my friends again, I'm going to go there and rip your arms and stick them up your butt. And he's like, let me know if he messes with you again. Thank you very much, I will. I never liked Korg more than in this film because he only has one scene. He doesn't take a lot of screen time, and he doesn't get in the way of the story. Nicolas Cage says, will you buy Disney Plus? I don't need to read the rest of the question to tell you yes. Not because they're making a show about Scarlet Witch and Vision, but because it's called WandaVision. I'm buying it because of that, and because of the Falcon Winter Soldier, and because of the Loki show, and because of the Hawkeye show. Honestly, the show I'm most excited about, it's none of those. And you probably think it's The Mandalorian. Yeah, sure, it's The Mandalorian. But I'm saying Marvel shows. Neither of those four are the ones I'm most excited about. The one I'm most excited about is the Marvel animated What If series. It's going to be animated, but it's going to be voiced by people from the MCU because it's going to take specific what if scenarios from the MCU, not random scenarios from the comics, from the MCU. And the first episode will be what if Peggy Carter was the super soldier, was the original Captain America. I cannot wait to see that. I'm flipping out just thinking about it. That's the show I'm most excited about by far. There's a news that came out this week, by the way, that WandaVision supposedly is taking place in the 1950s. So it would make sense to take place in the past because Vision is dead. He's truly dead. He doesn't come back in Endgame, not even for a cameo, not even as Jarvis. But the previous Jarvis comes back. So it makes sense to be set in the past, but the 1950s is a very weird setting. But I'm all for it. Show me something, and I'll judge that as good as bad when I see something. Just name of the stream. Just change the name of the stream to another jump in the chat. Where are we? I will make sure the next live chat, live discussion about anything I put up, I will name it another jump. Where are we? Maybe we jumped into the quantum realm and I don't know. Where are we? See, it's happening again. Abderrahmane. No, I'm reading this wrong. I want to read this right. Abderrahmane. I hope I pronounced that right. Forgive me for not. Says hi. Hello, welcome to the chat. Thank you so much for being here. Nicolas Cage says, just received my Blu-rays for Spider-Verse and First Men, so that's nice. I have something to show you. I got this baby here, which is 4K plus Blu-ray plus digital download, the beautiful steelbook. I don't have Spider-Verse yet, unfortunately. I need to get a steelbook for that, and a steelbook right now isn't available, but I will get it soon enough. And Abderrahmane says, hi again. Hello. Nicolas Cage says, what happened to Mjolnir in the alternate universe that Fat Thor stole it from? Did Cap return it? I believe so, because when he comes back as old Steve Rogers, he doesn't have Mjolnir. So I think he took Mjolnir with him, not only to deliver it back, but also to jump and travel more quickly through New York, at least to return the stones where they were. If not for other reasons. But he doesn't have Mjolnir when he's back as old Cap, so I assume he returned it. He has to return it, otherwise Thor the Dark World in that timeline gets fucked up. James Starbucks says, only part I had a problem with was Thanos being killed off in the beginning of the film. Oh no, I love that. I love that. It made total sense for a team with Captain Marvel, Thor, who else was holding him back? War Machine, Hulkbuster, and Thanos is all fucked up. He can't fight anymore. Even Hulk can fight better than him. He destroyed the stones. That has got to take a lot of energy, even more energy than it takes to snap half of existence away. I love that personally. Nicolas Cage says, I had a theory that Far From Home would have secretly been Doctor Strange 2, with Mordo having taken on the identity of Mysterio. I feel like that would have been pretty cool, but we'll wait for the film. I am interested in seeing that, but I don't think they would do anything that crazy. I think they still want to keep Spider-Man a bit separated in his individual movies from the others, since he's shared with Sony. So I think we won't see anything like that because of Sony, but that would have been interesting. Stuart King says, what was more surprising, Thor smack-talking a kid over a Fortnite game or Hulk dabbing? I mean, even before the Depression, Thor is the kind of guy who would do that, because he has that Viking blood in him, and he doesn't take shit talk from anybody. So I'll say Hulk dabbing. Even as it's Bruce Banner and it's in his character, I didn't expect a dab, let's say. So I'll take Hulk dabbing. Newt says, "What's up? Thank you so much for being here, my dude. We've been talking Endgame nonstop for the past 4 or 5 days." Stuart King says, "By the way, Thanos did the pause and zoom enhance thing. Kind of chuckled at that. I thought CSI Thanos should be a series on Disney Plus when he did the pause and zoom enhance thing, and it looked HD still. I mean, it's space technology, so it's much more realistic than it is in CSI. But I want a CSI Thanos show right now." Stuart King says, "How do you return the Soul Stone? Do you sacrifice what you hate the most? Can Captain America just throw Red Skull off the cliff?" I think you just return it to the moment where it was stolen and it doesn't exist, and it just goes into this different plane of existence that we don't know what it is. Nicolas Cage says, "Think WandaVision will be a prequel, as her character was another pretty dark ending implication." I love their character in Endgame, and it has been confirmed to be a prequel. I don't know how it can be a sequel if Vision, I mean, he's mentioned because he's dead, but the very mention of him is reaffirming that he's dead and he doesn't come back in Endgame. So I think it will be a prequel. I don't know how it will be in the 1950s, but it will. I think it will be a prequel. Jacob Wright says, "If Thanos sent Nebula just to retrieve info about the whereabouts of the stones and return to the past, things would have been much worse for the universe." That's very true. That's very true. That just shows that you get kind of blind and eager with power. He wanted a fast solution because he thought he was inevitable. That's one of the dangers of being so certain about something. Let me get some water. Nicolas Cage says, "Gotta go now. Great as always chatting with you. Thank you so much for being here, dude. Always appreciate it." James Starbucks says, "Mortal Kombat 11 will dominate over Fortnite, hopefully, at least for real gamers." I just got my copy of the... It's not the Lux edition. It's an edition that is a steelbook and comes with a bunch of DLC codes that I won't have to pay for. But I just got mine. Still haven't started, but I will soon enough. Newt says, "Sorry I'm late, by the way. I'm going to be asking things I'm not sure that were asked, like..." I'm sorry. "Do you think Marvel and Chris Hemsworth will extend the contract so that he can join Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, or will the Guardians tell an excuse during the film on why Thor ain't with them?" I mean, right now we cannot be sure. But Chris Hemsworth just did an interview this past week as Avengers Endgame was coming out, and he did say that he'll play this character as long as they want him to play this character. And I think we can see that he's having a lot of fun playing the character. They're being very creative with the character of Thor, and that is always a good thing for an actor. Let me tell you that, to be creative with a character that you've been playing for so long. When it came time for Robert Downey Jr.'s contract to expire in the past, I'm not quite sure in what movie specifically it was, but I know his contract expired at one point. They extended it. When it came time for Chris Evans' contract to expire, they extended it. So I don't see why Hemsworth wouldn't extend his contract if they want him and if they want to continue playing Thor. Stuart Keating says, "One thing every MCU character should know: never tell Nebula any secrets because she's recording everything and her memories can be accessed." I bet that's a really good advice, man. I bet the Avengers and everyone who's come across Nebula is like, "Oh shit, I shouldn't have told her that. She's recording that shit," without even knowing. But I guess it won't come out now because Thanos isn't there to torture her, and I'm sure the Guardians aren't the type of people who would torture Nebula or anyone for that matter. And she's now a good guy. She's not the blue meanie anymore. She's the blue goody. So I think she just erased every piece of dirt that she had on anybody. But that's good thinking, man. That's good thinking. I hadn't thought of that. Chandler Video says, "Okay, I don't know if you guys even talked about it, but in Endgame, Thor tried to get the Stormbreaker, but Thanos was able to hold it. Is he wordy or not? No, because the Stormbreaker doesn't have the wordy spell on it. The wordy thing of Mjolnir is something that Odin did on the first Thor. Whoever should hold this hammer, should he be wordy, will hold the power of Thor. And he throws the hammer. Stormbreaker doesn't have that spell on it. At least that we know of, unless it's inherent to every hammer in existence. But I don't think so. So I don't think Stormbreaker has that enchantment, not spell, enchantment on it. Jacob Wright says, if Thanos stayed his ass in his time, he would have won without anyone undoing what he did. That's true, man. That's true. And maybe in another timeline, he just does exactly that, and eventually he wins. Stuart Keating says, if in 2013, both Fat Thor and 2013 Thor extend their hand to retrieve Mjolnir, where would the Mjolnir fly to? I guess... good question. I guess he would just stay, like, trapped in the air like this, fighting to go for both Thors. I guess if one of them is more wordy, honestly, surprisingly enough, I think it would be the Fat Thor. Because that's the moment where he learns to be himself again, and not who he's supposed to be. So I think he's gone on a longer journey of growth than 2013 Dark World Thor. Honestly, if it wasn't going to stay trapped like this in midair, struggling as to which Thor to go to, I think it would go to 2023 Thor. 10 years of difference. Oh my god. Thor is 10 years older. So he's now 1,510 years old in 2023. Wow. That's a lot. He's old. Scarlet Witch, you took everything from me. Thanos, I don't even know who you are. And she's like, you will. That was an awesome scene from Scarlet Witch. I've always loved Scarlet Witch. She's never been more badass. I love what she does to Thanos. And she's about to kill him. She's about to separate his arms from his torso and whatnot. And Thanos just tells them to rain fire over on anyone. Where am I? Stuart says, while Iron Man was getting his funeral on Earth, I think Black Widow was getting a funeral on Vormir. The Red Skull is just there by himself. I thought so too. I heard people saying, oh, why doesn't Black Widow get a funeral? They don't have a body. I mean, and it wasn't like they can just, hey, let's go to Vormir to get her body. Hawkeye was just hanging there on that, it's not a rope, but I don't know what to call it. In that thing, when Black Widow falls, then everything goes to black. He wakes up in that shallow lake with the Soul Stone there, and he's like, I should get Natasha before going back through the quantum realm. And he activates her thing and her suit, and she just goes lying there. It would have been pretty funny to see that, I'm not gonna lie. Stuart Keating. Chandler says, that does make sense. I forgot what I answered your question. I'm really sorry. Yes, the worthiness thing. I just thought it was weird. It was weird at first. At first, when Captain America has a story, really good moment, by the way. But when Captain America and Thor exchange hammers accidentally, I'm like, oh no, but wait, it doesn't have the worthiness thing about it. So yeah, but it was weird to me at first. And in that moment, the first time I saw it, as it happened, I was like, But yeah. Stuart King says, I think Tony Stark did the ultimate dad joke. Thanos said, I am inevitable. Tony, hi inevitable. I am Iron Man. Alright, someone topped Hulk when it comes to dad jokes, and it was Tony Stark. I think one of the best moments from Tony Stark as a dad in this film was when he's walking out of Morgan's room and he's like, go to sleep or I'll sell all your toys. But he's saying it jokingly. It's such an endearing moment, but such a Tony Stark specific moment. Stuart Kinney said, it seems like Thor charging up automatically braids the beard. And the hair as well. He braided the hair as well. I actually really like that. To the point where I was thinking, oh, he changed the beard and the hair. Maybe he's fit again. I mean, because it's fucking magic. He could be fit again just like that. He's a god. But no. And thankfully in the battle, there weren't any jokes about him being fat, because being fat shouldn't always just be for jokes. I mean, what I like about it is that in the final battle, he's still fat, sure, but he's fucking Thor. Don't mess with him. So I really like that, and I like how it looks. I need to get that beard done on myself when I have enough beard, because I don't have anything here. Um, Stuart King says all nerds around the world can celebrate that they can cosplay as Thor accurately. That's so true. I didn't think about that, but I'm going to a Comic-Con at the end of May in London. Oh my god, there's going to be a lot of Thor costumes, and now they're going to be accurate. We're going to have a lot of accurate Thors from now on, at least for the time being, until 2021 when we get as Guardians of the Galaxy and he's fit again. Stuart King says, why didn't Valkyrie join the Avengers in the time travel part? I think because she doesn't know them, and she's one of those characters that she's very much like Thor. She wants to worry about her people and keeping what she has left, which is not much, safe. Much like when Rocket and Hulk go and they're talking about Thor and how bad it is. Um, Hulk says, I mean, they lost Asgard and then lost half their people. So Valkyrie, that's why she becomes the queen of Asgard at the end, because she makes those people, the Asgardians, the leftovers of the Asgardians, as her priority, and that's what a king should do. Where am I? Newt. I'm already picturing Far From Home having dialogues like, are you old enough to drink? Yeah, we're 21. We just spent 5 years of them in a vacuum cleaner. Oh my god. I don't I think we'll have some joke like that. Not literally the vacuum cleaner thing. But yeah, that would be funny. I would like to see something like, oh, I should be old enough to drink right now, but I'm not because I spent 5 years not existing. So time didn't move for me. And Ant-Man is also really lucky in that he's younger now, and so he can spend more time with his daughter. It sucks that he lost 5 years of his daughter's life. I mean, someone told me, I think it was today or yesterday, that he lost Cassie's prom, which I'm sure must suck. But he now gets to spend more time with his daughter, which is awesome. Stuart King says, do you actually think 5-year jump thing will be addressed into the Phase 4 movies? Like, it's a major deal. I don't see why not. I don't see why they wouldn't do it. I agree it's a big deal. In Far From Home, I think it's for sure going to be addressed. As Guardians of the Galaxy, I mean, I think it will be addressed by the people who weren't in the majority of Endgame. So let's say the dusted characters, whenever we next see them, I think they will address it. Even if just in one scene to talk about it a little bit, like Doctor Strange with Wong, or Guardians, not I think Guardians will be the one exception, because I don't think we're going to start Guardians 3 like right after Endgame ends. So in the time between the ending of Endgame and the ending of Endgame, that's a mouthful. The ending of Endgame and as Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I think Thor and the Guardians will have had conversations. So I think that's the one that might skip it. Again, Spider-Man Far From Home for sure will do it. And I expect Doctor Strange to do it. It's kind of a big deal, him talking to Wong, because I don't think Wong was dusted. I'm not sure about that. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I don't think Wong was dusted. So I think the Sorcerer Supreme coming back, it's kind of a big deal. So yeah, I think they will address it. Even if it's just one scene per movie, just addressing it, moving on, I think it will be fine. Iron Man Rocks 93. Already pre-ordered the movie. The movie was badass. It was super badass. I still haven't pre-ordered it because it still isn't available in my area to pre-order. But as soon as it is, I'm going to pre-order the shit out of that film. I'm probably going to get 3 copies because it's going to be a collector's edition, an Infinity Saga of all the 22 movies, then a steelbook for sure. I don't know if I've already said steelbook. I'm buying a 4K edition of this film, even though I don't have a 4K TV, but I don't care because it's Avengers Endgame. Stuart Keating says, what did you think of Rocket Raccoon in Endgame? I really liked him. I think it was the most emotional we've seen Rocket. Like, he was all alone. There's this moment in the battle where when Thanos is raining fire on everyone, and you see Groot covering himself, trying to protect himself, and then you see Rocket just jumping at him and hugging him. He doesn't want to lose Groot again. I love it. There, we talked about the great moment where he turns the gauntlet over after Thanos' arm is chopped off, and he's like, "Oh no, the stones are gone." Great moment, the moment where he goes to Nebula and just holds her hand because they've lost everything. I mean, no words are needed. They lost everything. That's it. And then there was another moment. I talked about the funny moment where he scares Banner and Stark as they're putting the stones in the new gauntlet. And there's another moment. But I'm forgetting what it is. Why am I forgetting what it is? I'm forgetting what it is. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry that I'm forgetting. It's my favorite moment of Rocket in this film. Oh, Nicolas Cage mentioned it. Is when they're under the rubble after Thanos shoots the Avengers mansion with blasters, and Rocket is about to drown. He's trapped under this rock, and he's completely agitated. Somebody save me, please, please help me out. I love that moment. Rocket was just great, great, great in this film. He might just be my second favorite Guardian of the Galaxy, the first one being Gamora. And Stewart says, there's already a lot of stuff in the movie which will never have answers, like where did the dusted characters respawn? Was it exactly in the exact place they were before they got dusted? Yeah, I think it was, because Black Panther and Falcon come through Wakanda. We can see that through the portal. The Guardians, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man come through Titan. You can see the background there. Then you see Bucky and Groot also coming with Wakandan soldiers through the portals, so Wakanda. Valkyrie is with a lot of his Guardians, and a portal right next to them has the Ravagers and Howard the Duck, if you look closely. So yeah, from what I understood, you just need visuals to tell a story, and everything they tell us in that scene, in the comeback scene, they respawn exactly in the place they were before they got dusted at it. Newt, in Far From Home will have to be addressed. I mean, there are high school kids who are 5 years late, and maybe Black Panther because they had no king. I'm sure we'll have answers for it in Black Panther 2 as well. But maybe they won't be satisfying answers. What I mean by that is, so at the end of the film, when we have a voiceover of Tony Stark before his funeral, when he's talking about everyone always wants a happy ending, but it doesn't always happen, blah, blah. There's a shot of Hawkeye going back to his family. There's a shot of Hope and Cassie and Scott watching some fireworks in San Francisco. And then there's a shot of Black Panther with Shuri and his mom in Wakanda. And Wakanda is thriving. So I don't know if we'll see what happened in those 5 years. It might be addressed like really quickly with a line. But if we hadn't seen anything from Wakanda, I think there would be more of an explanation. We would go more into it if we hadn't seen anything about Wakanda in this film. And I'm sure they had a replacement king. I mean, T'Challa's mom is still alive, so she can be the queen. I mean, Stuart Keating says, I think it was really cool seeing the events of Avengers 2012 after catching Loki, like seeing the Tesseract and Hulk walking down the stairs. Hulk walking down the stairs was so good. Up the stairs, hate the stairs. And then he's walking down the stairs, so many stairs. And then he gets down, he punches Tony Stark all the way across the hall. And he's like, no stairs. And he punches a hole in the wall. My God, it was really, really good. I miss that Hulk. Stuart Keating says, what about those people who were in planes that got dusted? They respawned mid-air. That's very sad if it didn't happen. That's true. I didn't think about it. And at the end of Infinity War, in the post-credit scene where we see Samuel L. Jackson getting dusted, we do see a chopper rotating and crashing into a building. So that's very true. I don't know. I don't know if... Wow. Imagine that. People were in a plane, the plane crashed, but the people got dusted. Either that, or maybe the people get respawn 5 years later in the place they were supposed to be, because I mean, the dust didn't get out of the plane, so the people supposedly were in the plane. So maybe they either respawned in midair and just fell to their death. They either respawned on the plane's crashing site, or if the plane's rubble isn't there anymore, they just respawned in the place where it crashed. I don't know. It's a really interesting question, dude. I gotta ask the Russos that on Twitter. Stuart King says Baby Thanos. So why don't we just go back Baby Thanos? And first of all, that's horrible. Great moment. Great moment. Instant kill. It was a really good moment. And I like how even though he had instant kill, Spider-Man could only hold off the Outriders and everyone else only so long. So many great moments. That battle is full of highlights, man. Emotional one and enthralling ones, like exciting ones. Nerdvana. That battle was Nerdvana for everyone. Why is it not showing these comments? Newt says, and that's America's ass. Captain America puts Captain America to sleep. That is America's ass. It is. It is, Steve Rogers and Chris Evans. Thank you for your service. I want my Captain America back. Bring him back. Super Lazy in 1987 says, when Avengers go back to New York 2012, what happens to Loki when he steals the Tesseract? I have two theories about that. Number one, it probably doesn't even happen because they returned the stones to when they were stolen. So that whole mess of Robert Redford and Ant-Man pulling the pin from Tony Stark's arc reactor doesn't happen. So Loki doesn't get the Tesseract. Number two, if it still does happen and we have a new timeline where he escapes, that will be the Loki series, which I forgot to mention previously when we were talking about Disney+. That will be the Loki series that we are going to see with Tom Hiddleston in Disney+. Why is it not showing comments? Stuart King says, what about those guys having sex with their wife before getting dusted? Did they come back naked in bed with the wife's new husband instead? You got some really good questions, dude. I want to get an interview with the Russos and just have all my questions for them written by Stuart. Either that or put Stuart in front of them instead of me, because these questions are really good. In fact, it's not even, I don't even want to get you with the Russos. I want to get you with Marcus and McFeely, the screenwriters of this film, because those are really interesting. Either that or even better, Kevin Feige. Although I wouldn't give anyone my place to interview Kevin Feige. Gotta be honest with that. Stuart King says, does the Stormbreaker have the same wordy spell as Thor? I don't think so, because the wordy spell, as far as we know, happens in the first Thor. Odin banishes Thor, and then he picks up the hammer, and he puts the enchantment on it, throws the hammer away, and Stormbreaker doesn't. Stormbreaker is built by Thor through the heart of a dying star. So I don't. Nothing indicates that it has the same enchantment on it. If anything, everything that we know indicates that it does not have that spell. Howard Potts, a great made-up name. I don't know. I thought for a second he was going to say Morgan, and then he would say Morgan Potts, which is technically his daughter's name, so to speak. And no questions thus far. I'm going to take a little break and have some water. Okay, let's go. Stuart King says, I really wanted to see Quicksilver in this. I know he died and all, but that would have been beautiful. Honestly, I wouldn't have liked to see him in the end battle, because he would have been doing nothing there. However, should they have gone back to Age of Ultron, which is the only film he was on, should they have gone back to Age of Ultron, I think it would have been a really, really cool moment to see Quicksilver in it. It just happened that they didn't go to a movie where he was in, and it was only one movie, so the chances were very, very slim. But I like Quicksilver, and I like Age of Ultron more than most people. Stuart King says, did you expect to see a beheading? Honestly, it didn't shock me. It's not like I walked into the film. It's not like I walked into the film saying there's going to be beheadings. All right, there's going to be lots of beheadings. At the same time, if someone had told me, "Hey, do you think it's going to be a beheading?" I wouldn't have said no. Um, but they could only pull it off because it was a CG character, not a human character, and so the blood wasn't red and all that. But yeah, it's not like it shocked me, but I wasn't expecting it either. Marcus Pitt is here. Thank you so much for being here, dude. My friend, hope you're alright. I'm very good. Thank you so much. Just saw your episode got episode 3 review. Spot on as always. Thank you so much. Do you think the cap shield was well delivered? I think that would suit Bucky better because he's a super soldier. I'm going to tell you right now, I like Bucky much more than Falcon. And in the comics, I didn't like the Falcon run as Captain America. I liked Bucky's run as Captain America a lot. In the context of the MCU, it makes sense for Bucky not to get the shield. Number one, he's just too damaged still from all the experiments the Russians did on him. And number two, he kind of lives this life that's only for the fight, for the war, that Steve had. And he's Steve's best friend. It makes sense that Steve wouldn't kind of put this curse on his friend, who also kind of got a normal life taken away from him. So watching this film now 4 times, you kind of get to see, in the moment that Cap goes back and he tells Bucky, "Don't do anything stupid until I get back," and Bucky says, "How can I? You're taking all the stupid with you," which is a reverse conversation from the first Avenger. To me, that kind of tells us, it tells us that Steve has already told him, "Yeah, I'm not coming back. I'm staying with Peggy. I'm getting a second chance at life." And when Bucky sees him, he's like, "Hey, Sam, go over there. You're the modern soldier. You deserve to pick up the mantle, and I'll live as normal a life as I can." Because he missed out on life, and he smiles at Cap, and it's that kind of smile that is like, he's jealous, but he's really happy for his friend. He's really happy that his friend has gotten the life that he deserved with Peggy. So I think it was really beautiful. And again, if you ask me which character do I prefer, Winter Soldier or Sam Wilson Falcon, Winter Soldier 100%. And Sebastian Stan plays this role beautifully. But I think I don't want them to call him Captain America. That's for sure. Do not call Sam Wilson, or if Bucky had gotten the shield, don't call anyone else Captain America besides Steve Rogers. Nobody else has America's ass. But I think it makes sense for Sam to be the one to carry now the shield because he's the kid compared to these two, and Steve understands that Bucky deserves as normal a life as he can get, even though he cannot get back to their time. Marcus Pitt also says, "We want Fat Thor to return." I expect him to be fit, Chris Hemsworth, but I cherish every moment of Fat Thor that we got in this film. And I think it was Stuart saying previously, Marcus, I don't know if you were here to hear that now we're going to get accurate Thor cosplayers in Comic-Cons this year. And that no truer words have been spoken in this world. Newt says, "When do you think Falcon and Winter Soldier will be set between Civil and Infinity Wars or after Endgame, with Falcon slowly becoming the new Captain America?" I think after Endgame, that's for sure. That's for sure. But they're not going to call Falcon Captain America. He's going to have the shield as a symbol that the spirit of what Captain America represented is still alive and moving on, since he is a soldier as well, but he's still going to be called Falcon. I think they're going to change the costume a little bit. Maybe they're going to have matching. I don't want to say matching. They're not going to have matching costumes. That will be lame. But kind of similar color schemes, but not same patterns, you know. But I'll say at least Falcon's costume they will change. That I will bet on that. Stuart Keating says, "Where are you?" Okay. Was this the first time the words Avengers Assemble was ever uttered in the MCU? In the last... Nope. This was the first time. 11 years, and they were only uttered in the culmination. The one time they were teased were at the end of Age of Ultron, when... I can't remember. I think it's when Thor leaves. So Thor leaves. I think Tony Stark goes home. He doesn't leave. He just goes home because he has a home. And then in the base, Steve and Nat go to meet Falcon and Scarlet Witch and Vision. That's it. I think that's it. And Steve Rogers says Avengers, and it cuts to black. And they did that on purpose because they always planned for the Avengers Assemble iconic line to be at the culmination of the first 11 years of the culmination of the Infinity Saga. So yeah. Stuart King says, not many people gave Hulk enough credit to invent and de-aging device. That's really impressive. A de-aging. Oh yeah, that's true. He wanted to send Lang through time. He wound up sending time. Why was I saying Thrime? He wound up sending time through Lang. A really funny way to put it. I'm surprised Robert Downey Jr. or anyone delivered that line without getting a mouthful. That's a really good one. I think I got it. If I didn't get what you were saying, please correct me. Stuart Keating says, "Why wasn't Drax in the movie?" I know, right? I didn't see him. He absolutely turned invisible at long last. James Starbucks says, "Why do I get the feeling that when Oliver dies in Crisis on Infinite Earths, Marvel fans are going to be like Endgame did it first?" I don't know. If anything, it's already been in the works for a while on Arrow. They presented it before Endgame. They couldn't know what was happening in Marvel, so I don't think people will notice. Marcus Pitt says, nice on cosplayers of Fat Thor, all right. They are going to be very accurate. They are finally going to be accurate cosplayers of Thor. Stuart King says, how would the conversation between you and 2012 version of you go? I would base it right now. This me would be a smug son of a bitch that knew what happened in Endgame, would know what happened in the last 7 years ever since the first Avenger, but I would not tell myself that. I would be like, you think the Avengers is awesome? Just wait for it, kid. You're going to be astonished like you have never been before. And it happened. Avengers Endgame just dethroned the original Avengers as my favorite film of all time. What would you guys do if you met 2012 version of you? Also, I'd probably get in a fight with myself, just like Captain America did with Captain America. But yeah, I think I would also advise myself not to do some things differently than I did. And some things I'd remain the same. I'd tell him, make sure you do this. So yeah. Stuart Keating says, I thought RDJ calling for a medic on himself was super risky considering a lot of past Avengers were there. Yeah, that was a risk. But I guess he wanted to make sure he lived. Also, he kind of he took like the thing that was covering his face on before, but he was also walking away. So yeah, I guess the fear of dying and wanting to protect yourself from dying kind of dethrones the worrying about, hey, people are seeing a double of me. Off topic from Endgame, do you have any thoughts on Fantastic Beasts 3 getting a November 21st release date 1 year late? It makes sense because of a news that came out like a month or 2 months ago that they were having problems and they wanted to make this film as big as possible. Well, Endgame just went as big as you can get. I'm not worried. I really am not. It feels like a long time, but we're already almost halfway through 2019, so it's going to go really fast, guys. Life is short. The next 5 years until 2023, until we get to the moment where Endgame happens, they're going to go by very fast. By the way, Stuart Keating says, by the way, no Agent Coulson, kind of surprised. I wasn't surprised. I mean, when I think about it, you're not the first person to bring it up to me. When someone brought it up to me, I was like, oh yeah, I guess I was expecting him. I wasn't expecting him in the final battle, but maybe at Tony's funeral. Maybe at Tony's funeral, I would have been like, oh, there's Agent Coulson. That's really cool. but it makes sense because he doesn't want the other characters to find out that he's dead. Someone that I'm surprised we didn't see at all, because we see him in the beginning, because we learned that he was us, was Dr. Selvig from the Thor franchise, played by Stellan Skarsgård. We see him in the beginning as Bruce is looking onto these screens showing who got dusted. Not Bruce, Captain Marvel, Bruce. When Tony comes back, we see that. And then, so we see Dr. Selvig there. We learn that he was dusted, but then we don't learn anything from his fate. We don't see him coming back. It wouldn't make sense for him to be at Tony's funeral. He never met Tony Stark. But maybe since we see him in the beginning, we could have seen him maybe in the original Avengers sequence in the Battle of New York. Where am I? Lucas Pitt says, what is your take on the Black Widow movie, prequel, or alternate reality? I'm guessing prequel. And I've always been more interested in a Black Widow prequel movie or then a Black Widow sequel movie for some reason, and that doesn't happen. I'm usually not interested at all in prequel movies. There are a few exceptions, but I'm usually not interested in prequel movies. In this one, it really, really works for me, at least in concept, in my head. The idea of Black Widow prequel movie, the promise in it. And I'm kind of, maybe I'm totally wrong. I'm probably totally wrong. I have no source, I have no information to think this, but I think the Black Widow movie being a prequel, we're probably going to finally learn what happens in Budapest, that she and Hawkeye are always mentioning to each other. They mentioned it in this film again, and I really like that. What was I going to say? And yes, and I'm thinking, it just hit me as I was watching Endgame, maybe Budapest is the time, the event, the moment, whatever, when Hawkeye finally recruited her to get out of the Russian spy organization that she was in and joined S.H.I.E.L.D., and that's when she became a good guy, and that's why they both remember that location so much. Super Lazy says, here an idea, a room tour in a future video, please. I've wanted to make a room tour for a while again. I've done one in the past, I think. Maybe it wasn't even on this channel. It was on an old channel in a much more empty room. But I would like to give you guys a room tour in the future. I've done a Blu-ray collection. I've done a book collection. I've done a Funko Pop collection, but I haven't done like a full room tour. I want to organize this because this is very badly organized. I have 2 Hulks here, but I have like 7 Hulks all the way over there. I have to just reorganize it because I have also 2 Thors here, but I have like 4 or 5 Thors there. I also have an Odin here. I have a Thanos here, but there's also a Thanos here in front of the 2 Darkseids. So I want to organize all of this before showing you the room tour because I want to show you the room tour in the best condition possible. But yeah, I'm seriously considering a room tour. It just has to be while I'm here in Portugal because my room in London isn't very showy. It's not. It wouldn't make an interesting video if I showed you my room in London. I would just show you basically the things that I have behind me on my videos when I shoot there. But yeah, that's a good idea. Katinette says, hello there. Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And Monkas apparently says goodbye. Thank you so much for being here, man. Really appreciate it. Stuart Keating says, Endgame is now over. Now what for the MCU? I think expanded with the new characters you have, but slowly but surely, as you've done in the last 11 years. Introduce the Fantastic Four. We were discussing the X-Men before, but I wouldn't want the X-Men in the MCU. I mean, I would want them in the MCU, but in the story, have them be from a parallel universe that they can hop in and out whenever they want. And then they just come in for big, gigantic event films, and they're not there every time because there's a point where it gets too crowded. There's a satisfaction in seeing a battle like Endgame, but if you have what we already have, plus the X-Men, it will just be too crowded not to constantly show up in each other's movies. Unless the plan is to actually have people constantly show up in each other's movies. But I think it will work better if you present the Fantastic Four in this main universe, and then just show us there's this other universe where a lot of really great characters and superheroes as well, and maybe in a special event they come together. That's my idea, at least. Super Lazy says, what are your thoughts on Disney saying the live-action Lion King will make more money? Did they say that? I mean, more power to them, but at the end of the day, even if it doesn't, it still will make a ton of money. I bet you that. And it's going to Disney's pocket. And Endgame just shattered records all around the world. I won't say it's impossible, but I will say it's unlikely, because Endgame didn't just break records, it shattered them. It made more $93 million than Infinity War. And that's just in the US alone. It made $1.2 billion worldwide in its opening weekend. It made more money, not a lot more, but it made more money on its opening weekend than Captain Marvel has done so far. And Captain Marvel has done a lot of money. Captain Marvel has made $1 billion, and she was a new character that wasn't presented in any previous film. So there you go. I mean, the new Lion King looks great, so yeah, sure, make all the money you want. If it's a good movie, if it deserves it, sure. Katinet says the MCU is just getting started. Now we have a multiverse. Anything can happen. Hopefully so. I mean, I wouldn't mind a multiverse, because that means there's another universe where the X-Men are all by themselves. The Fantastic Four will for sure present a multiverse, because they travel to other dimensions all the time. I would love to see it, and I can't wait to see what the MCU does with their new characters now at home at Marvel, at Disney. Super Lazy says, isn't Red Sparrow the Black Widow movie already? Yeah, it's very similar. I mean, maybe a little bit too rated R for a Black Widow movie. If you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. Maybe a little bit too rated R, but yeah, it's pretty much what I like to see in a Black Widow movie. Maybe the Black Widow movie deserves a little bit more action, but it's pretty much the espionage part of a Black Widow movie I would expect. I recommend Red Sparrow. Good movie. Stuart Keating says, when Hulk said he wanted to see Doctor Strange, Asian One says, you're about 5 years too early. So did she see the future? If so, how did she not see future Thanos destroying the universe? She explained that in Doctor Strange. I remember Doctor Strange very well because I'm in the minority. It's actually one of my favorite MCU movies. It's my favorite origin story. Basically, the ancient. I'm not. What I don't remember if this applies to all wizards, but I remember that the Ancient One can do this. She can see the future up to the point of her death. She explains this in the scene where she's traveling with Stephen Strange through the astral plane, and she's telling him that, oh, I can only see the future to this point because I'm going to die. That's why I can't see any further. Or is she already dead and she tells him that she saw the future until a previous point in time because she died before? I don't remember. What I do remember is that she can see the future until the point where she dies. And yeah, that's it. But I don't remember if it's just her or every Sorcerer Supreme. James Starbuck says, do you think we will get any surprise cameos in Spider-Man from Home, or will it be its own story? I don't think the two are exclusive. I think we can get surprise cameos and be his own story. It's a good question. It depends. Because I've seen this theory for the past few days that without us knowing, without anyone in the universe knowing, Tony transferred his consciousness to a Jarvis-like network. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'll use it. And so he's going to be the new AI in Peter's suit. That's a theory, and it's on my theory. I'm just saying what I've heard. And that would be the way to still have Tony Stark in the MCU. So I'm not sure how I like that theory. I'm just saying what I've heard. But it will depend on execution. I like the finality of Endgame. I like the finality of finishing the arcs of the characters we do finish the arcs of Cap, Tony, Black Widow. So yeah, the idea sounds nice, but I'm not sure how I'll like it in execution if it does happen. So that would be a surprise cameo, I guess, because they would only show that kind of thing in the end. They would let Peter struggle through the loss to Tony Stark to only at the end say, "Hey kid, I'm still here." Um, Newt says, "Who will buy the old Avengers Tower? Oscorp, the Fantastic Four, and an important person group from Marvel." I'm guessing Fantastic Four, if that's the way it happens. I don't see why you have to sell the old Avengers Tower. New people can become Avengers. But I've had the theory that it's going to be Fantastic Four. If it's going to be Oscorp, I don't know. It would be just as cool, I think. Another important person slash group from Marvel. I don't see many people throwing this theory around, but Shield? Maybe Shield. Maybe Shield sets up a new base. Maybe not Fantastic Four, but maybe Doctor Doom. He can't just stay in Latveria all the time. He needs a home base somewhere else in kind of a big, important country where a lot of the stuff in this universe happens. New York City. So yeah, but my main theory, my if I had to bet, Fantastic Four, and that's going to be the Baxter Building. Can't wait to see more. Okay. Where are we? Regarding Hawkeye Ronin, did you get Arrow vibes? Like, after 5 years, he changed and became more cool and killed criminals, and he shoots bow and arrows. Coincidence? I think not. I think the one difference is that when Hawkeye became more cruel and more vicious, he now uses a sword instead of an arrow. He goes back to using an arrow when in the final battle and all that, but as he gets more violent, he uses a sword, not arrow. But now that you mention it, yeah, I wonder if the Hawkeye show will start with, "My name is Clint Barton, and after 5 years alone, I became a very violent person. But then my family came back, so now I'm all happy." That would be an interesting intro to the show. Katina says, "I'm not ashamed to say I teared up multiple times watching Endgame. I went in without any expectation or theories and was pleasantly surprised with the final battle and the ending. You shouldn't be ashamed of feeling anything. You teared up, that's awesome. You had an experience like no one else. I teared up all the 4 times I went to see this film. I teared up from the moment that Cap picks up Mjolnir for the first time onwards until the end of the film. I'm a sobbing mess. I cried through this entire film." Where are we? Newt says, "I can't wait to see more about the Eternals, especially after finding out they are somehow involved in the origin of mutants. That will be a good intro for the mutants in the MCU. That's for sure. I mean, it depends on how they pull it off. I don't know when the Eternals take place. I don't know if it's far in the past, during their creation of something. Some people are theorizing that we could see Thanos in the Eternals movie, so that would be interesting. Stuart Keating says, "Was Bucky prepared to not see his best friend again, at least as a young man?" I think he was. The smile he gives at the end, and he says, "Hey Sam, go have your moment with Cap, because I've already had mine." And again, the little exchange he has with Steve, "Don't do anything stupid until I get back. How can I? You're taking all the stupid with you." So I think so. Everything about that scene, about their interaction, it tells me that. But that's just a theory. I could be wrong. Newt says, "Who do you think will become the new big bad for the upcoming years? I've already seen people commentating it could be Galactus or Doctor Doom." I think it will be Galactus. I think they will build on to Galactus to be the villain in the next culmination movie, let's call it that. Either that or Kang the Conqueror. Doctor Doom would be interesting, but I think they would first... It's not a fear, but I think if they present Doctor Doom and if he is anything bigger than just a Fantastic Four villain, I think it will be like a Loki. He's a big villain in one event film, but that event film is still building to the bigger event, which is the Galactus movie, whatever. Not an actual Galactus movie, but the movie where Galactus is a big bad. I mean, Infinity War was Thanos' movie, so I guess Galactus movie. Yes. So yeah, Galactus or Kang the Conqueror. Stuart Keating says, did anyone else expect the two Captain Americas to point at each other like the Spider-Man meme? Captain America, just before leaving, with a quantum suit on and a mask on, he just does this. And then when they look, there's old man Steve Rogers doing this to his back. Yeah, that would have been funny. Um, James Starbuck says, it will be interesting how some of the characters try to move on following the events of Endgame, but my theory is next big bad will be Galactus. Mine too. And when I say next big bad, I say as Thanos was the big bad. So it's a long years away. But yes, he is the next big bad in these films. Newt says about who will buy the Avengers Tower and whatnot. True, since the current Avengers base was destroyed. That is true. They need a new home. I mean, Cap lived there, but now he's living with Peggy. Tony's dead. He didn't live there anyway. Natasha lived there. She's dead. I guess Bruce lived there. Who else lived there? I think Bruce and Nat and Cap were the only ones. So we just need this home for Bruce now. So he moves to Avengers. He could be in the Fantastic Four. Who knows? He can't fight with his right arm. So it would be a good thing to join a team. If they don't want to bring the Thing, it will be controversial. But if they don't want to bring the Thing, they could just use the Hulk in the Fantastic Four. I just divided the internet right now. I realized the ramifications of my words. I'm not saying that's what I want. I'm saying they could do that, and the internet is going to be pissed. Stuart Keating says, is Scott Lang's daughter a superhero in the comics? I mean, everyone's a superhero in the comics, basically. There are storylines where eventually Cassie Lang becomes Stature. If I remember correctly, at least the version that I remember, she cannot grow little. She can only grow tall. And there are even versions of the comics that she can only be giant and she can't return to normal size. Stuart Keating says, how will Captain America die? Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, heart attack? What's your theory? I think he'll die in his sleep, peacefully next to the love of his life, Peggy Carter, who's already died now that I think about it. He lived a full life, but she died in 2014 in The Winter Soldier. That's where she died, and Cap has been not alone, but he's lost Peggy for 5 years now. No shit, wait, no. This film takes place in 2023, so Cap has lost Peggy 9 years ago in this time. So yeah. James Starbuck says, who do you think... I lost you. Who do you think will make a good live-action She-Hulk in the Hulk and She-Hulk plus Disney show? Wow. I haven't heard that show announced. I'm not a big fan of the She-Hulk character, but if they're doing a Hulk character, which I don't think they are because why am I blanking? The rights for the Hulk are still tied up in Universal. So yeah, I don't think so. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know who would make a good She-Hulk. I haven't given it much thought because I'm not the biggest fan of the character. I liked her in the old 90s Hulk animated show, but I think that's as much as I know about the character. I've seen comics with her, and she was a member of teams I've read about. But yeah, that's as much as I know about the characters. There are characters in comic books I'm not going to pretend I know about them, but yeah, not interested in She-Hulk. If she's teaming up with Hulk, maybe yes, because I'm interested in Hulk. Period. Where are we? Oh shit! So many questions. Where am I? Okay, Joe Russo isn't a bad actor. He was okay in his cameo. I like him in his cameo. He's just fine. I mean, he's a director, so he knows what an actor should do. I think he's just fine. And it's not the first time he cameoed in one of his Marvel movies. Um, where are we? Another jump. Da, 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 da. Joe Magalhães says, speaking of Fantastic Four, I can't wait for them to have a proper movie. I must say I do like the first one because I grew up with it. Do realize it ain't good. And what's your take on Fantastic Four films? I really want them to do Fantastic Four films. I think they should prioritize presenting Fantastic Four before they present X-Men in this universe. Because I think a smaller team fits much better than suddenly presenting this whole species of people that eventually become some X-Men, some belong to the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants with Magneto. But I really want them to give us Fantastic Four and maybe present us a version of an MCU version of the Illuminati with Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Professor Xavier, maybe Banner, since Stark is not around anymore. Who else? Who else would be a good person to join the Illuminati? Maybe Beast, because he joins the Illuminati at one point, and maybe even Namor, which some people are speculating he has another reference in Endgame. He had a reference in Iron Man 2. I think it was Iron Man 2. Now people are speculating that he has a reference in Endgame when Okoye tells Nat that it was this earthquake under the sea. We handle it by not handling it. That was a really good line. Mighty Loving 79. Have you seen Nicholas Sequeira's comics? I don't recognize the name. They're great. Have you seen them? Let me search for it. Okay, he's written a lot of things. He's written Justice League. He's written Black Panther. There's a Black Panther image when I go to Google, and I don't want to say something wrong, but it shows up. Birds of Prey. He's written. I just want to make sure I have the right person. Nicholas Sequeira. Why isn't a Wikipedia page showing up? Nicholas Sequeira. For some reason, there isn't a Wikipedia page showing up. The name is not jumping out at me for some reason. Okay. Where am I? What's it? Okay, I lost you guys. I'm really sorry. No, it's not showing up. So again, I don't want to say shit because I don't want to be wrong. The name just isn't jumping out at me. But if I type his name on Google, Marvel Zombies shows up. But I'll check him out. Thank you guys for mentioning him. They're incredible. I have not seen them. And enjoy the milkshake says, oh yeah, Nicholas Sequeira is great. Current News says Nicholas Sequeira is fantastic. I want to see a review for that. I have to search for comic books of his or for books. But thank you, man. Review Nicholas Sequeira. A lot of Nicholas Sequeira fans here. Thank you so much, guys. Stuart King says that shot of Hulk and Rocket Raccoon at the back of a truck was delightful. It was really cute, that pairing. I really liked it. Newt says, I think Steve traveled to 2023 main timeline right after Peggy died in 2014 in the branch timeline they lived together. That's a really cool theory. I wouldn't put it past Cap, because like 9 years alone until he gets back to his friends, that's gotta be tough. Current News says, I sub to you so you'll do a review of Nicholas Sequeira. If I get a hold of something he wrote, if he wrote any of these comic books, I'll take a look at it. Dude, thank you so much. Thank you. Katianet says, my favorite Marvel character is for sure Kate Bishop, Mockingbird, Hawkeye. If her or the Young Avengers don't show up in the next 5 years, I'll riot. I don't know if they'll show up in the next 5 years. But I wouldn't say no to them showing up eventually, maybe in 10 years when we get another culmination movie, and then we'll have a lot of younger actors, newer actors. And I would expect Kate Bishop to show up in the Hawkeye series. So maybe not in the movies, but maybe in the Hawkeye show. So get Disney Plus. Disney doesn't pay me, by the way. I wish they paid me. You get a much better image of me, and I would actually be in the studio. Current News says sub for that review. Thank you. If I get a hold of it, I'll try to give you that. Enjoy the Milkshake says I want to see a Nicolas Cage comics reviewed. Thank you. Sub, so you'll do a review of Nicolas Akira's comics. Subbed also. Nicolas Cage's comics are way better than Marvel. You got that sub on if you do Nicolas Akira's movie. Nicolas Akira's comics don't show up on Google. Okay. Okay. I'll try that. Thank you guys. Okay, I'll check out the. So they're recommending College Buddies. Thank you guys for recommending the. I don't know if he's an artist or a writer, but I'll try to check him out. Thank you. Okay, I'm typing it in to leave it ready for after the show. So thank you. Let me just check if something is working right, because I'm not seeing. Suddenly something stopped showing up on my cell phone because I was doing the double check to see if the chat was all right. So yeah, okay. All right, thank you. Okay, College Buddies is the thing. Thank you so much, everyone. Okay, let me see if I missed any questions. Okay, very underrated artist. Okay, so he's an artist. Thank you, Mighty Loving 79. I'll try to check it out and find through the URL you guys gave me. And oh shit, it's been 2 hours. Okay. Did I miss anything? Okay, Stuart Keating says, I'm surprised Quill finally coming back to the Earth wasn't this huge grand moment of anything. Again, it's priorities we got to take for the story. I mean, where he came back to was pretty much rubble, to be honest. So it wasn't that big of a deal to him, I'm sure. Nicholas Akira. Okay, Stuart Keating says Scarlet Witch almost defeated Thanos one-on-one. She did. She is that powerful. It was only a matter of time until they allowed her to show that. And the rage of Thanos having killed Vision only helped. So that was a really good one. I love that. I love that moment when she comes back and just stops Thanos on his tracks. And he says, I don't even know who you are. He says you will. I think I'm calling it quits because my voice is starting to go away. I'm going to have this raspy voice tomorrow, I bet. Thank you to everyone who watched it. We got 10 people watching it. Okay, Francisco Quinta just got here. This movie is just phenomenal, period. That's very true. Glad you enjoyed it so much. But thank you to James Starbucks, Stuart Keating, who has been here since the beginning, dude. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to the new people who are recommending Nicolas Akira. Never heard of him, but now I will not forget the name. Again, James Starbucks, João Magalhães, Newt, Nicolas Cage, Super Lazy, Katia Neto, Mocas. Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else? Chandler was also here. Jacob Wright. And I think that is it. I need to thank Sandro as well and Holy Tosh for being here. Super Lazy. I've said that. If I didn't, I'll say it again. I'll say it just to double check. And yeah, I think that, and Alexandria Vaughn as well, and Mick Rock, and that is it. That is it for this live stream. 2 hours, 28 minutes, not 30. We didn't do 30, we did 28. But this was awesome. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for joining me in this conversation for Avengers Endgame. And I already have my review for Game of Thrones episode 3, The Long Night, up if you want to check that out. Next video will be tomorrow or on Wednesday. I'm still not sure when I'm seeing it, and that will be my review for Long Shot. Then on Thursday, I'll have a review for Detective Pikachu. I don't know if I'm going to do a spoiler review for that, but I'll have to wait a week so I have time to think about it. And that is it. This is the Endgame. We're here. Let's enjoy it. I'm going to see this movie again as fast as I can. Again, thank you guys so much. Old friends, new people, thank you for the recommendations on Nicholas Sakara. And I will see you guys in the next video. Stay beautiful, stay geeky.